Hi, I'm Karlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Karlin Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, karlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hello, real one. Happy Tuesday, and a special shout out to all the Barbies in the house today. You know, I haven't even seen this movie. I had no intention of seeing this movie. I had no desire to see this movie at all until conservatives started complaining about it all over the damn internet. And even more offensive to me, it's not even just that conservatives were complaining about it. It's that in their complaining, they fundamentally revealed that they have no effing clue what is driving gender ideology, what woke is, what problem they're actually fighting, what mystery nemesis they're up against, because the reality is, guys, that with conservative influencers like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all the rest of them, they don't actually care about the problems they're talking about. The only thing they care about is exploiting those problems to make money and get clicks on the internet to maintain their status as the conservative influencers. That is all that they care about. And I'm going to prove that to you today, being that I haven't even seen the goddamn movie Barbie, and you don't need to see it to know that it's not fucking woke. That's what we're going to talk about today. Rottweiler in with the first super chat. Rottweiler says, Barbie is woke, and if you don't simp for the sound of freedom, then you're on their side. Influencers can't be wrong. They can't be wrong. The conservative Twitterati can never, ever, 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 ever be wrong. Oh my goodness. I'm going to get out a lot of feelings today about a movie that I didn't like, didn't watch, didn't have any desire to watch. Yeah, Peter, what part are you leaving out, Peter? Peter, I'm Peter, you've been a great supporter of mine for a long time. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed, Peter. I'm just disappointed because you are so much smarter than this, Peter. You have watched my content. You have sat through numerous Socialism Saturdays. You have been an eminent supporter of my work. You are one of the two kings or queens of the chat. It is you and Beth, and that is it. And I am just really I say this with love and respect. You should know better. This is not the definition of woke. And not only is this not even the point, at the end of the fucking movie that I didn't even see, but I apparently know more about this movie than the people who saw this movie. At the end of this movie, Peter, the Barbies literally decided that they were not treating the Kens well and they needed to treat them better. Anyway. Anyway. Oh, here come the Matt Walsh simps. They're like, Matt Walsh, you make money off the culture war too, Carolyn. Oh, the Matt Walsh simps are gonna be glorious today, aren't they? The Matt Walsh simps are always such epic little bitches. They're big men on the internet who live in their mom's basement and have never even gotten anywhere close to having sex with a girl, and that's why they admire Matt Walsh so much. Oh, they're gonna be out in force today. Person I've never seen in the chat before. All right, guys, welcome to the show. If you want to get berated as being a part of my chat, you're welcome to come over to YouTube and give it a try. But today we are going to be talking about Barbie. Words I never thought I'd say in my life. And the reason we're going to do a couple things. Number one, well, this isn't the first thing we're going to do. We're going to do this second. Ben Shapiro apparently felt so passionately about a Barbie movie. A movie that was made for women. And Ben Shapiro entering into a woman's space to watch a woman's movie and then is sad and upset when the movie was not made for Ben Shapiro. He could have gone to see Oppenheimer. He could have gone to see Mission Impossible. What did he choose to see? He chose to see the movie literally made for women about nostalgic things from women's childhood. That, by the way, do you know what is one of the most infuriating parts of this whole conservative rebellion against Barbie? Because it's not even that it is proof positive that the conservative right has no fucking clue what they're talking about. No clue at all. Who is actually pushing gender ideology into schools. No clue at all about what critical queer theory actually wants. No clue at all about any of this. The most disappointing part is that these conservative men who have been reeing and crying and complaining about trans women invading women's spaces and why can't women just have their own spaces? Well, guess what, Ben? The Barbie fucking movie is a women's space. It is not made for you. Your kind were not invited, bro. You could have gone to see Mission Impossible. You could have gone to see Oppenheimer. You could have gone to see like any movie that is made for men's fucking nostalgia from childhood or an historical event that men are interested in or a war or something like that with things blowing up. I've got fucking news for you. Like, even though the Barbie movie was not on my list to see personally, because I prefer horror movies and stuff like that. That's just my preference, whatever. I also don't fucking complain every time a war movie comes out that I don't want to see, that's 3.5 hours long, some sort of World War II epic. Like, how dare these men engage in the patriarchy and make a fucking war movie? If you don't want to go see the movie, don't go fucking see it. But don't complain that you, as a man, went to a women's movie that was made for women who played with Barbies when they were a kid to go to see with their own daughters so they could be nostalgic about playing with fucking Barbies because it's a thing when you're a girl, all right? Don't be fucking bitter that the Barbie movie wasn't made for you and your fragile fucking underappreciated, poor put upon fucking man sensibilities. This isn't even hard. And you know what's even more infuriating than that? I even got one more level to this. What is the audience that conservatives should be appealing to right now? What is the audience that conservatives need to be appealing to in order to get votes to win elections? Because I was under the mistaken impression that the goal of all this was to change culture, to reach out to people who might vote with the right, might actually vote for the GOP, maybe win the election in 2024. You know, the thing you guys tried to do in 2022, but you failed so fucking epically at it that you barely eked out a win in the House when you should have won the House by like 20 seats. I mistakenly believe that one of the goals of the conservative right now was to win voters. Well, guess who they need to win? Who was the voter in Virginia that defected from the Democratic Party to get Glenn Youngkin elected governor of Virginia in 2021? What audience did conservatives correctly for once in their fucking lives? What audience did conservatives appeal to get Glenn Youngkin elected governor of Virginia in 2021? Does anyone had Reagan, who watches me all the time and actually listens to what I say? Reagan, you give me hope that people will actually eventually listen to me someday. Yes, conservative mothers. Conservative mothers. This is who conservative, and not even conservative mothers, suburban mothers, mothers with kids in school, mothers with school-age children that don't care about any of this woke bullshit, that just want their kids to be taken care of and go to school and learn stuff like reading and writing and math, and don't want any of this woke shit. They're independents, they're disaffected lefties, they're maybe moderates that are like, you guys have gone way too far for the Democrats. This was the one effing audience that conservatives needed to appeal to. Suburban goddamn mothers with school-age children. Guess who the Barbie movie appeals to? Does anyone want to take a guess? Does anyone in the chat want to take just a wild stab in the dark about who is the primary audience for the Barbie goddamn movie that conservatives are too stupid to understand? Yes, Sid. The primary audience for the Barbie movie is suburban women with daughters. This is the audience. And yet, the main audience that conservatives need to be appealing to win in 2024, the only fucking audience that is going to swing any election towards conservatives in 2024, the same fucking audience that is loving the Barbie movie. And I heard from people who saw the Barbie movie that they were like, there were mothers who brought their daughters and the mothers were crying because it was just so beautiful and they loved it so much and it reminded them of childhood and all this stuff. This is the one audience that conservatives need to appeal to. And what are they doing? Shitting all over it because they are offended that there was actually a movie made for women. Ooh, oh my god, icky, icky, icky. There are 2 fucking movies out for men right now. No one wants to go see Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer. Okay, I kind of want to see Oppenheimer. I do a little bit. I'm not going to go to a movie theater or anything, but like I would watch it on DVR. But like you know, I mean, just because like that's kind of like dystopian, so that's my thing. But guess what? If you don't want to watch this movie, go watch something else. It's not really that hard. I had way more feelings to get out about this than I even thought. And we haven't even started yet. Kino says conservative influencers never gave a shit about pop culture until last year. The nerds have been warning the masses about this for years. This is the latest grift. This isn't even a fucking grift. So far as what I've heard from people who have actually seen the Barbie movie and by reading a plot synopsis on Wikipedia, like, this movie is not woke. This movie made fun of both sides. Rottweiler, thank you for the super chat. Conservatives don't understand pop culture and why the Marxists despise pop culture because it's part of the status quo and a stabilizing force for people, so they need to destabilize it. But Walsh and the cons don't get it. They will never get it. You want to know why? Judy, what did you think of Oppenheimer? See, Judy exercised adult discretion and said, you know what? I want to go to this one. I want to go see this movie. It's really not that hard. Not that hard at all. Anyway, so at some point in this video, we are going to watch Ben Shapiro destroy the Barbie movie for 43 minutes and simultaneously piss off every woman voter that could have defected from the left to vote for the right in 2024, but that doesn't fucking matter because we don't care about winning elections. So we're going to watch this and I'm going to react to it at some point. But first, I'm going to read you and we are going to discuss this article that I wrote last night over on my Substack, which is Karlyn, Karlyn.substack.com, where I explicitly explain in detail, okay, not a lot of detail, it's a relatively short article, but it gives people enough detail to understand. I explicitly explain why not only is Barbie not a woke movie, Barbie upholds the two pillars that the woke left are trying to destroy more than any other. Barbie, for anyone who understands what the woke left is and what the woke left believes and what the woke left are trying to do, Barbie is the antithesis of the woke left. Barbie is the enemy of the woke left. Everything that Barbie's talking about, and I don't give a fuck how many times they say the word patriarchy because they were obviously making fun of it, and I know that just from reading a synopsis. Everything this movie stands for is the opposite of what the woke left actually want. So how could this possibly be a woke movie when it is quite literally upholding the two pillars that need to be protected at all costs? And we'll talk about what those pillars are. Shane, and thank you for the super chat. Righties like Shapiro don't understand that some entertainment is just meant to be silly. No, they don't. And I'm saying this as a woman who enjoyed Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer. Well, like, here's the thing. And like, I've said this, like, I get in arguments with people all the time. They're like, the left are trying to kill the arts, Karlyn. The left are going to kill the arts. I'm like, are you on glue? The arts die on the right. The arts don't die on the left. The arts die on the right because the right doesn't have a creative brain. Conservatives, generally speaking, have extremely inflexible mindsets that make it really difficult for them to understand art. It makes them difficult for them to emotionally connect with art. It makes them difficult to think creatively. It makes it difficult for them to look at things from multiple perspectives. Conservatives don't create art. And that is part of how the left won the culture war, because the left creates art. The right does not create art. So don't fucking tell me that the left is trying to kill art, because art would quite literally die out if conservatives controlled things. They wouldn't create it. They would censor anything they didn't like. They wouldn't allow anyone to create it because they can't create it. They would shame and cancel anyone who tried to. Like, the arts would die if the right were in charge because they don't understand this stuff at all. God. I did play with Barbies as a kid. I did. I had like wedding special edition Barbie and everything. So I'm not saying there's not like nostalgia involved for me. There is definitely nostalgia. Like, I had like a big ass Barbie collection growing up, but like, That's not even what this is about. I am fucking offended that these are people who have been talking about and thinking about this ideology for years longer than I even knew what was going on. And yet, still, by some fucking magic, because I actually paid attention and I listened, I know it better than they do. Anyway, we're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, guys, I do just want to remind everyone, if you have not been over to the Unwoke Art store yet and you want some cool swag, because unlike conservatives, I actually create things that are useful in the world, head over to unwokeart.com. Now, of course, as my special FU to Ben Shapiro today, you can get the All Tears Are Tasty design, and yeah, you can get it on a tumbler. The All Tears Are Tasty signature tumbler, because I don't care if you're on the left or the right. As long as you're crying, that's good enough for me. And I will laugh every single time it happens. Every single time someone comes and reads in my chat about how mean I am to Matt Walsh, I will lap that shit up and I'll put it right in my All Tears Are Tasty tumbler and I will drink that. You can also get the design on hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of other stuff. But I also want to show you guys something else. I have this new thing called the Subversive series, and I'm very, very excited about this. I think I'm going to have another design going up probably later on tonight or tomorrow. I'm still fidgeting with it. It's not perfect yet, but I'm doing this new design for basically stuff that you can wear. So we're talking about, I've got hats, I've got bags, I've got t-shirts, I've got stickers that you can, like, stick on things. No, 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 no. Just because you don't personally like it and it offends your fragile sensibilities doesn't mean it isn't art. You don't get to decide what art is. And the fact that conservatives continue to think that they're the ones that get to bless what is and is not art is indicative of the fact that they don't understand art in the first place, or how to create it, or how to produce it, or why people like the left's art far more than they like the right's art. You don't get to decide what art is, bro. I don't want to hear about it, Anna, unless you're actually doing shit in the real world that's actually selling and making money. Because you know how when what art people want and what art they don't want? It's the ones that people actually buy. I'm taking no conservative bullshit today. Anyway, if you want stuff that is actually useful, that you can wear in the real world to help subvert the language game that the woke left is playing, because they are playing a language game. If you do not understand the language that the woke left is using and how they are taking definitions and they are changing them, taking definitions of words that we all have a common understanding for, changing those definitions. You just did, honey. You just did. You just did. If you were in charge of creating art, the world would die of boredom. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm going to keep arguing with the chat because the chat's going to keep saying dumbass shit. Not everyone in the chat, just a few people who don't watch my channel regularly and therefore don't know what they're talking about because they haven't been here to learn. Anyway, it's like the worst pitch ever. I'm yelling at the chat during a pitch to like buy merch and stuff, but it's fucking cool ass merch, man. Way cooler than anything any conservative has ever created in this space. I'm sorry. If you don't understand that the woke left is manipulating language in order to gain more power so they can destabilize the system, so they can attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia, then you're way, way, way behind. And you gotta go read my other work, because this is a key fundamental understanding. Anyway, I'm creating this new series of merch called the Subversive series that allows you to buy a shirt or a hat or have a bag or have a sticker you can stick on something that will subvert the woke left's language. They are meant to be conversation starters. They're meant to be something that you wear down the street and people are like, what the fuck does that mean? And to start a conversation with you, and then you can explain what exactly it means and what the language is. And everyone who watches my content regularly should be able to do this, but just in case you can't, I do have a little helpful blurb in each item. Now, this is going to be the Whiteness is Capitalism hat. This is my favorite fucking thing I've ever created. I know it's so simple, but I love it. I love it so, so, so much. And in every description, I have a little blurb about why whiteness means capitalism, or I have queer means Marxism, I have equity means unequal, and I have anti-racism is racist. I'm going to be adding a lot more to this series. Again, you get a cool hat, cool bag, cool shirt. The cool thing about the bag is if you're in a place where like you need to hide what your bag says cuz like someone might have a problem with it, you just turn it around. The design is only printed on one side, you just turn the bag around. That was a purposeful decision. I was originally going to put the design on both sides, and I was like, let me give people an out just in case they need to cover that shit up. Anyway, you can see all the stuff I have available and much, much more over at unwokeart.com. And of course, all purchases do help to support the work I'm doing, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And it's way cooler than anything conservatives are making. I'm sorry, it just is. It just is. Murphy's Pool. Barbie never came with Ken. She came with G.I. Joe and faked it with Ken. Well, that's probably true, Murphy's Pool. If for no other reason than Ken lacks the right equipment to get the job done, I think. But yeah, I don't actually think that that's wrong. Anyway, guys, please mount that like button if you would be so kind. And just one more reminder, at the begin actually on the first 1 week from today, I will be raising the rates to access my premium Substack articles. So right now you can sign up as a premium subscriber on my Substack for $5 a month, $50 a year. All that helps to support the work I'm doing, keeps me in business. It gets you access to premium articles. It also gets you access to supporter perks like the supporter only Discord, like the private Zoom calls that we do on Mondays and Wednesdays, etc., etc., etc. But in 1 week's time, I will be raising the price to $8 a month and $80 a year. And if you are not signed up by then, that's the new price you're going to pay. However, if you sign up this week, and this is the last week for this, and I don't want to hear any complaining because I've been warning you guys for a month, if you want to get grandfathered into the old price, then it is $5 a month, $50 a year for the rest of the week. And everyone who's signed up and is a supporter at that point will continue on at the old price and will not have to pay the new price. Isn't that great? I can see that Anna and I are going to be arguing the entire chat because she doesn't actually watch my videos and oh, she doesn't actually know what she's talking about. Oh, I am shocked. I am shocked. I think one side of art does get pushed more. Do you know, Anna, why one side art that is making art gets pushed more? Do you know why? Because the right doesn't fucking create art. I'm gonna say this like I'll say this 15. You want to know why the right thinks this movie is woke? Because they don't fucking create art. Do you want to know why the right is complaining about every single movie that comes out ever? Oh my god, it's so leftist, it's so woke, it's so leftist, it's so woke. Because the right doesn't fucking create art. It's really simple. If the right actually created art, actually created stuff that was good and was entertaining and was thought provoking and was inspirational, not just a fucking American flag with a fucking eagle and a lightning bolt. If the right actually created art, then people would buy the art. The problem is the right doesn't fucking create art, which is why you don't see art from the right pushed. It is really that simple. You cannot push something that is not there due to a complete and total fucking lack of creativity, a lack of sense of humor, a lack of understanding, like, I mean, just human nature in general. There's so many reasons why the conservative brain is not equipped to create art. And I suspect that you are actually more conservative than you think you are because you obviously have the brain that is hardwired like the conservative. Anyway, I would like to start actually getting into my content now. Anna can keep reading in the chat if she likes, and we'll just see how that goes for her. Sin, my experience is that my parents, right, told me to do art as a hobby and to learn a skill. They don't support the arts. That's exactly right. Conservatives don't support the arts. The left creates more art because the left supports art. Like, I mean, conservatives killed art in school. They killed music in school. They killed all this stuff. Like, I mean, I just don't know what they want. And then they're so surprised when the left controls culture. It's like, bro, You handed them the key. You handed it to them. You handed it to them. You complain every time someone creates art. Like, you call it frivolous. Exactly. I'm told by people all the time I don't have a job. I'm like, holy shit, I'm working a lot of hours for someone who doesn't have a job. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, let's read this article, guys, because I'm going to explain explicitly why Barbie is the least woke movie of the year. And it comes down to one simple thing: Barbie upholds the gender binary. That's it. That's all. I don't even need to see Barbie to know this, guys. There is no possible way that Barbie can be woke because Barbie upholds the gender binary. And if you don't know what that means, I'm going to explain. But first, I'm going to take this super chat from Wattweiler. There it is. For the same reason cons call certain mediums like anime, certain music genres, or video games satanic, they pretend to understand the value of pop culture while Marxists hate it as a unifying force. That's exactly right. Every time they're complaining about something being demonic or satanic, it's like maybe they're just putting on a theatrical show, bro, and it's a show. So you know what you do? Create a better show. But no, they never create a better show because they just whine and complain about how they don't like the first fucking show. I promise you, the actual woke left hates Barbie. They hate it. They hate it so much, not just because it upholds the gender binary, but also because it upholds the second pillar that cannot fall, which is capitalism. Gender binary and capitalism. If a movie upholds those two things, I don't give a fuck about anything else. I really don't. I really don't. Let's read. If there's anything that will rile up conservatives, it's over the top fictional female characters, so no one should have been surprised when they started screaming, Barbie is woke! Almost immediately upon the movie's release. Ben Shapiro even did a 45-minute rant about how woke it is, which we will be watching when I am done reading this article because I feel like destroying Ben Shapiro's argument. There's just one problem. Barbie is not woke. No, I don't care how often they said the word patriarchy, that doesn't make it woke, especially since they use the term to contrast it with a matriarchal society ruled by Barbies. Brooklyn Way, Sophie Lewis and her brother made their Barbie dolls. Gangbang. She tweeted it. Well, I bet she did. Sophie Lewis, of course, is our favorite abolish the family activist. And I bet you Sophie Lewis effing hated Barbie. Do you want to know why? Because Sophie Lewis is quite literally one of the people who is trying to dismantle the nuclear family. This is not an exaggeration. Sophie Lewis is one of the leading activists for abolish the biological family. She has written 2 books on the topic. One is called Abolish the Family. One is called Full Surrogacy Now. She works at the University of Pennsylvania. She lectures at colleges all over the country, all over the world, in fact, about abolishing the nuclear biological family. Sophie Lewis, if this movie was actually woke, Sophie Lewis would be the #1 raw cheerleader of this movie, and apparently she hated it. Gee, what happens when we actually listen to what actual leftists think? Oh, we find out a very different story. Isn't that interesting? King of Diamonds, the right does create art. The problem is that it is extremely local. At least where I live, they create art here. It is shared locally. Music, books, artwork, all shared by word of mouth or church. Well, if they want to have a band that's playing their church barbecue and that's all they want to do, then they can't complain when they are not influential in culture. I'm sorry. If all you're doing is you're creating a painting that's hanging in your church and it's a beautiful painting of Jesus, but that's really all it is. No offense to Jesus or people who like Jesus paintings. But usually, like, if that's what you're going to do and you're just going to give it in your church as a gift, don't be surprised when you don't influence the broader culture. Like, in order to have influence, you need to have people see your work. You need to have people engage with your work. If you're just focusing on local things and that's all you're doing and you're just doing it as a hobby, then don't complain when you don't influence broader culture. Like, you know? So no, we do not care that they used the term the patriarchy because spoiler alert, and again, I haven't seen this movie, but I read about the plot on Wikipedia and I heard about it from like 15 different people. One of the basic premises of the Barbie movie is that Barbie lives in a matriarchal society ruled by Barbies. Barbie went into the real world and brought Ken with her, where Ken basically learned that in the real world, men rule the world, and he learned about the patriarchy, and Ken kind of liked the patriarchy. And so when Barbie and Ken went back to Barbie world, where it's the matriarchy, where women rule, Ken didn't like that so much. And Ken started trying to educate the other Ken, saying, we are poor, oppressed, abused men, and we should take over Barbie world or whatever. And then the Kens took the Barbies hostages and took over their dream houses, but the Barbies ended up regaining power or something. And then at the end of the fucking movie, the Barbies literally said that they should be treating the Kens better. That's your basic synopsis. The movie was making fun of the patriarchy. It was making fun of it. It was making fun of the whole notion of it. The ending of the movie quite literally dismantled the fucking patriarchy. It dismantled the matriarchy too. This should be what conservatives want. Conservatives want a level playing field where everyone has individualism and meritocracy and we don't judge people by their gender. Guess what? The end of the Barbie movie literally effing did that. But because they said the term patriarchy, oh my God, we didn't understand that they were using patriarchy in a sarcastic, dry human manner because we don't have functioning fucking brains. I don't know what to say. Like, conservatives, for real, you need to get a fucking sense of humor. Honest to God. If you do not understand that they were actually attacking the idea of a patriarchy by contrasting it with the matriarchy and then dismantling the whole fucking thing at the end, and you're going to re because you haven't learned how to process sarcasm and dry humor, you're never going to win people over if you can't process like basic human communication. I just don't know what to say. Using a term you do not like is not what makes something woke. Instead, what you want to look for are the themes of the film to see if they achieve one or more goals of the woke left. So, as we have discussed ad nauseum on this channel, and if you are new here, I will review it again. As we have discussed ad nauseum on this channel, the woke left, the actual left, the actual activists on the left that are pushing the cultural revolution that we are in right now. The real people, not the made up boogeymen that conservatives seem to think exist. The real people. They have 4 goals at all times, and these goals never change. Their goals are gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. Every single thing that the woke left does is designed to achieve one or more of these goals. They gain as much power as possible by getting themselves in leadership positions in institutions or through the soft power of influence. They then use that power to cause problems, and those problems are designed to functionally destabilize the system. Every time Tim Pool goes, I just don't know why the left always veers towards chaos. I just don't know why the left always supports the villain. It's because causing problems to destabilize the system is their primary goal. It is the main function that they are working on right now. If they are not destabilizing the system, you can bet this is not one of their strategies. Destabilization of the system is a feature, it is not a bug. Why do they want to destabilize the system? Because when you destabilize the system, you start to cause a lot of problems, and those problems are going to cause people within the system a lot of pain. When people are in pain, they are looking for a villain. Who caused me this problem? Who's causing me all this pain? And when they do that, the woke left says, capitalism. Capitalism is to blame for all of your problems. Why don't we just get rid of capitalism? They're trying to use the problems that they themselves are creating to blame it on capitalism to undermine faith in the entire economic system in which our society is based. And then once they get enough people that are questioning, should we really continue on with capitalism? Capitalism is causing us a lot of problems. Should we really continue on or should we do something else? They're going to be there to go, how about Marxism? How about Marxism? Why don't we try Marxism? And that's how they're going to usher in their Marxist utopia. Starship Troopers was making fun of nationalism, fascism, a satire. Isn't that what Carlin is saying Barbie did? Not really. Barbie made fun of both sides. But Barbie even correctly defined fascism. They're saying Barbie is so woke. Barbie, in the Barbie movie, gave a correct definition of fascism to push back on a leftist who was calling something fascist that wasn't fascist. I mean, they were making fun of it. She was making fun of it. If you want more information about that, I have more information on my website. The woke left tries to destabilize society in a number of different ways. Chaos is their goal. It's a feature, not a bug. So it would be impossible to list all the ways in which the woke left try to destabilize the system. However, there are two and only two pillars of our way of life that must be upheld at all costs to defeat the left. This is something I have not talked about explicitly before, okay? But it's something I've been thinking a lot about, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. There are two pillars of our society that we must protect at all costs. As long as these pillars stand, the woke left cannot win. So I need everyone to stop arguing in the chat about Starship Troopers right now. And I need everyone to listen because I have not talked about this point explicitly before, but it's really, 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 really important, okay? The two pillars that must survive at all costs to maintain our way of life are capitalism and the gender binary. That's it. Capitalism, free market capitalism, but we cannot change the term capitalism because I know someone's going to say, why don't you call it free markets, Carlin? Because people don't understand what that means. We have to be able to utilize language to our advantage when we have the opportunity to utilize it to our advantage. People do not know what the term free markets mean. They do understand the term capitalism. Capitalism is also the term that the enemy is using, and so we want to take away their ability to use it. So no, we cannot change the language to what makes you feel good. Free market capitalism, or just capitalism for short. We must use the term capitalism to gain the most value and a common understanding from the term. Hold on to your hat, philosophist. I'm going to explain how the nuclear family plays into this. The other pillar that must be upheld in addition to capitalism is the gender binary. The idea that there are two genders, men and women. Those are the only two pillars that must be upheld in order to make the woke left lose. If one of those pillars falls, the other one's going to fall too. So both of them have to be maintained at all. These are the fucking hills we die on right here. Now, what's missing in this? You don't see anything related to race in that. Well, that's because race goes under capitalism. It's about individualism and meritocracy. They're trying to use conversations about race or whiteness or systemic racism or white supremacy to disrupt capitalism. In fact, they use the terms whiteness and capitalism pretty much interchangeably. So race, anything around race, falls under capitalism. If capitalism falls, then none of the rest of that matters. Gender binaries. Philosophist just asked, what about the nuclear family? The nuclear family falls under the gender binary. If the gender binary is upheld, the nuclear family will be upheld. If the gender binary falls, the nuclear family will fall. The nuclear family cannot exist without the gender binary. And the gender binary can't exist without naturally propagating the nuclear family. Okay? So these are the two. Everything else, every other example that you guys could give me about, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? It falls either under capitalism or the gender binary. Because I believe there are masculine women, there are feminine men. Like, the thing is not men and women. You could change the titles of men and women, and you're still going to have masculine or feminine energy. You're going to have people who have a more masculine sensibility and a more feminine sensibility. The point is that there are two, that those two are complementary towards each other, and those two things work together. It doesn't matter if you call them men, it doesn't matter if you call them women. You could call them, I don't fucking know, red and black. I mean, it, like, you make whatever word you want. One is masculine, one is feminine. They're complementary. They work together. Peanut butter and fucking jelly. Like, it doesn't, the term does not matter. It is the concept that matters. In pointing this out, I'm not suggesting that other pillars are unimportant, and I'm not going to get into a fight about in the comments about it. I'm saying that if other pillars fall, we can still win as long as capitalism and the gender binary are upheld. Well, no, this is wrong. And the fact that it's wrong and you don't know that it's wrong is a reflection that you listen to really horrible people. This is fundamentally wrong. The gender binary is one of the things that the woke left is fighting at all costs. It is the one thing that above anything else right now they are trying to destroy, and they're being successful at it. And the evidence I'm going to give for that is the rise in non-binary people and the medicalization of people that makes them sterile. So no, this is not true. And you should really stop listening to anyone that you're listening to, because they've obviously lied to you and have not told you what the truth is. I am arguing that the woke left can never achieve their full version of utopia as long as capitalism and the gender binary stand. Every single tactic you see the woke left waging in our current reality is focused on defeating capitalism, the gender binary, or both. The question you should be asking yourself is why? Why are the woke left focused on those two things almost exclusively? Can anyone think of anything that the woke left is actually doing? Not the nonsense that the right claims they're doing that they're not actually doing. Can anyone in the chat right now actually think of one single solitary tactic that they are actually that the woke left is actually doing in reality, that are attacking something that's not the gender binary and capitalism? Challenge me on this. I'm being serious. Can you think of one single thing that the woke left is doing that is not attacking either capitalism or the gender binary? I'm just going to wait for a second and see if there are any answers that come in. In the meantime, I'm going to check and see how many crying tears I have on Rumble. All right, not that many. I appreciate that. That was a surprise. I thought I was going to have lots of tears over on Rumble. That's okay. Let's see. How about on Odyssey? No tears over on Odyssey? Excellent. Excellent. I can't think of anything at the moment. Nope. To be honest, I don't know what they're trying to do because the debate is stupid, but the endpoint is something I want to know. Well, the debate isn't actually stupid. The debate is actually really important. And the fact that you don't know what they're doing is a problem. Don't know. Oh, this is an example of someone who needs to watch my content more. Hero Blast thinks they're isolating people like children in a moment of vulnerability to push their ideology. What ideology? What ideology? Everything they're doing with kids falls under the gender binary. Everything they're doing with kids falls under, well, it actually falls under both. Under both. What they're pushing on kids in schools is designed to, number one, destabilize capitalism, two, abolish the gender binary. So everything in this answer falls under one of those two categories: capitalism, gender binary. Yep, Just Stop Oil is about capitalism. Yep. Dragon Water can't think of anything. Bach can't think of anything. They are not attacking those who agree with them. Well, I mean, why would they? They're not the right. Only the conservative right attacks those who agree with them. Does the consent stuff go under the gender binary? Yup. And they don't care about consent, by the way. They don't actually care about that. That's something the right cares about, not the left. They don't actually push that. You guys are the ones pushing that, not them. Gender binary and capitalism. Everything going on in the schools is around the gender binary and capitalism. Everything you hear about white supremacy in schools, whiteness in schools, systemic racism in schools, attacking individualism in schools, attacking meritocracy in schools, that's all designed to attack capitalism. Anything around social emotional learning, LGBT stuff, like anything around that is attacking the gender binary. All right. So it looks like we have some agreement. The two, because not a single person has been able to offer me any suggestions in the chat about something the woke left is talking about and actually doing in the real world that is not either attacking gender binary or capitalism. So then, because no one can offer any example of anything outside of those two, we have to assume that those two things, those two pillars, are the most important pillars that exist for the woke left. And the reason that those two pillars are the most important is because they cannot create their Marxist utopia without toppling those pillars. The question is, do they know these different issues fall under those two things? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They talk about it openly all the time. They have for years. We watch it every single Saturday on my channel at 6 p.m. They are very well aware. They know what they're doing. They've known what they've been doing for decades. This is only new information to the right. This is not new information to the left. This is only new information for the right. And if you disbelieve me, you can go back and watch any episode of Socialism Saturday for the last year where they openly and blatantly talk about it. Not only are these people literally trained to do this, these people are training other people to do this. They have been doing this for at least 3 generations. This is what happens when you ignore your enemies, guys. This is the cost you pay. Is the battle with the gender binary something recent? No! No, it is not recent. Before, the Marxists weren't queer or anything. The Marxists were always this way. They were always this way. They simply are using language and hijacking movements to enhance their ability to gain power. They have not changed since the 30s when they came here. They haven't changed at all, but they have adapted and they utilize what they can to gain more power, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. But at the very, 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 very minimum, 2015 is the year that they started their all-out assault on the gender binary. Now, that's not to say they weren't attacking it before. They were, but they were more focused on capitalism before that and other things too. But they started their all-out assault in 2015. What happened in 2015? Does anyone want to take a guess? What happened in 2015 to start the all-out assault that the woke left has been waging on the gender binary? And guys, their explicit goal, just so we're really clear, is to abolish the gender binary. Gay rights became legal. Gay marriage became legal. Yes. Trump didn't win in 2015. That was 2016. Catch up. Gay marriage was legalized nationally in 2015. That is the same time that they started their all-out assault on the gender binary. This has been going on for 8 years. And again, they were attacking it before that. They were. But that is when the term queer started being pushed into culture. They reclaimed the term queer. And queer, for those of you who are new here and have been listening to people like Matt Walsh lie to you, queer is not about being gay. Queer is not about being trans. You don't even need to be gay or trans to be queer. Queer is a far left political ideology. And jackasses like this come in and say, if it weren't for gay marriage, we wouldn't have these problems. No, you would have these problems. You would have these problems because you're a homophobic piece of shit who doesn't understand what you're talking about. If they didn't have this, they'd use something else. Any person who's like, if we had never legalized gay marriage, we wouldn't have these problems is a fucking retard. I said it. I am so sick of hearing the homophobic bullshit. This has nothing to do with gay marriage. If they had not legalized gay marriage, they would have used another tactic. Wow, we have got the conservatives showing their full homophobic asshole selves today, don't we? I mean, it's amazing, guys. You guys played it so well in 2020, pretending you didn't hate the gays. And then as soon as you get the opportunity to hate the gays, your best gay hater bullshit comes out, doesn't it? You're a retard, bro. I said it. I don't take it back. I'm so sick of this bullshit. All the conservatives in my chat are like, we are poor victims of the world. Nope. Their attack on the gender binary had nothing to do with Trump. This is another place where the left beats the right's ass worse than anything I've ever seen in my life. Let me explain this. The right, because the right is purely reactionary. The right has no strategy. The right has no vision. The right has no plan because they purely react to everything the left does. The right makes the assumption that the left is reacting to everything the right does. I'm going to explain this again. For those of you who think that this all started with Trump, that is your projection of what you do onto what you think the left is doing because you don't want to look in the mirror and acknowledge how flawed your own strategy is. Because the right does nothing but react to what the left is doing, the right assumes that the left does nothing but react to what the right is doing. The problem is that the left doesn't react to what the right does. The left is not reactionary. The left is strategic. The left had started their plan 70 years ago, their long march through the institutions 70 years ago, and they are still, to this day, executing their long march through the institutions. And it doesn't fucking matter what the right does. Doesn't matter. The left uses Trump to advance their objectives, to advance their priorities. This is why, quite frankly, conservatives conservatives are going to nominate Trump, and it's one of the stupidest things they've ever done. First of all, because they have Vivek, who is far superior to Trump in like every way, is someone that could actually win a presidential election. But no, they won't nominate Vivek because he's too good at what he does. They have to have their Trump. And what they don't know is that not only is Trump not going to get elected in 2024, but Trump is going to give a gift to the left that they can continue to use to advance their strategy that has nothing to do with Trump and has nothing to do with owning the cons. The left is going to keep doing what they're doing. They have their plan regardless of what you do. They will utilize every gift you've given them. It's like, man. Just going to go ahead and block some people who are having some feelings in the chat right now. For everyone who's about to get blocked in my chat, you can go buy the All Tears Are Tasty tumbler over on unwokeart.com. But you come in my chat, you insult me, you're gonna get blocked very, very, very quickly. Let me see. Da, 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 da. The accepted homophobia lately is disturbing. Yeah, I find it disturbing too. I find it the thing I find most disturbing is that there was a time that I actually believed the conservative right wasn't homophobic in 2020 when they talked about how much they loved the gays because Trump loved the gays and they didn't mind if people were gay and blah 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 blah. And then, but a couple years later, fool me once, shame on me. I say shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I guess. Vivek Ramaswamy is 8,000 times better than Trump could ever hope to be. Rottweiler, not all of us in the LGBT umbrella are queer. How hard is it to understand? Queer is a political application of Marxism. It's something that goes back to 1910, has nothing to do with gay marriage. That's exactly right. Thank you, Rottweiler. Yeah, you're goddamn right. I'm the only one allowed to hurl insults. You want to know why? Because this is my house. You're in my house. You are a guest in my house. You don't have to be here. If you don't want to be here, you can walk your ass out the door. But if you're going to sit there and insult me while you're sitting on my fucking couch when you chose to be here, no one forced you to be here, you chose to be here, I'm going to kick your ass out of my house and never let you back in. Why? Because you took advantage of being in my house in the first place, and I don't like it. Private property, voluntary association, cry all the tears you want on your way out the door. If it had nothing to do with gay marriage, why was gay marriage the origin point? As has already been explained to you, gay marriage was not the origin point. As Rottweiler clearly explained to you, this goes back to 1910. It has nothing to do with gay marriage. But what I assume you're saying and asking about and crying about so precipitously is that I said that the all-out assault started when gay marriage was legalized. If you were smart, you would understand that the left has a strategic plan to always take advantage of opportunities that are given to them. And when gay marriage was taken off the table as something they could no longer hijack, they switched their strategy and pivoted to something else. What they are doing right now has nothing to do with gay marriage. And if your influencers like Matt Walsh, who I'm sure you watch hours and hours and hours of every single week, actually understood what they were talking about, they would understand the term homonormativity. Have you ever heard the term homonormativity? I'm going to guess you haven't. Homonormativity is gay marriage. Homonormativity is the idea that gay people have monogamous relationships and they get married and they have kids and they have a house, and the woke left hates homonormativity. The woke left hates gay marriage. The woke left does not want people engaging in homonormativity. How could gay marriage possibly be the problem when the woke left doesn't want people fucking engaging with gay marriage? It makes no sense. Think. Stop parroting your influencers' talking points. Think. Well, I mean, what you should do is actually listen. Ears open, mouth shut, stop listening to horrible people. Exactly. Long live capitalism. Exactly. 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 There's a reason we have an IQ requirement on this channel, people. So the point she is making is that gay marriage was used by the left as an elevator to push other things. Nope, 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 nope. Not the point I'm making. If gay marriage as an institution was used as an elevator to push other things, then the woke left would not be pushing the idea of homonormativity, which is gay marriage. Gay marriage equals homonormativity. Homonormativity is seen as a bad thing. Does anyone want to guess why homonormativity is seen as a bad thing? Anyone want to guess? Has to do with the term queer. Queer, the term queer and homonormativity, which when you hear the word homonormativity, think gay marriage. The term queer and the term homonormativity are opposites. Yes! Oh, thank God people are listening. Oh my God. The family unit, the family unit, the family unit, the family unit. Oh, people do listen to me. Sometimes I wonder. See, when I'm being a bitch on the internet, at least people are learning. It upholds the family unit. The woke left hate gay marriage. They hate homonormativity because homonormativity upholds the family unit. Queer is the opposite of upholding the family unit. The explicit stated goal of queer, which is a far left political ideology, queer is not about being gay, queer is not about being trans. The explicit goal of queer theory, queer Marxism, etc., is to destabilize society. The bitch we need. I'm taking a screenshot of that, Jenny. All right. So, where we are is we have discussed, and I appreciate everyone being, accommodating for my rather bitchy attitude today. I'm just really over this bullshit. It's not anything personal against anyone that actually listens and knows what they're talking about. What we have established already is there are two pillars that need to be maintained in our society that will absolutely prevent the woke left from winning as long as these two pillars are maintained. The first pillar is capitalism. The second pillar is the gender binary. These are also the two pillars that the woke left is trying to destroy more than anything else. Everything they're doing right now has nothing to do with Trump. It has nothing to do with the GOP. They don't care about the GOP at all. It has to do with destroying capitalism and the gender binary. Every single thing. And Queen Beth of the chat spoiling me. Beth, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Anyone who doesn't realize the Marxists have been at this for over half a century needs to read The Naked Communist that was written in 1958. Beth, I'm going to take a screenshot of this to remind me for later. Thank you. I do appreciate the super chat. Guys, this stuff did not just pop up yesterday. We are in the position that we're in, losing very, 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 very badly, regardless of how many times Matt Walsh says, we're winning. We're not winning. We're not anywhere close to winning. That's not true. We are in the position that we're in because the left has been slowly executing this for decades, decades and decades and decades. And they did it while no one was paying attention and no one was watching. And people still really aren't paying attention. Most people still don't know what's going on. They're winning because there are not enough people that are not on the left that care enough to understand what's going on and to do something about what's going on. That's why they will win. I mean, in a more uncertain rather than hurtful way, are we really the only people standing in their way? Yes. Yes. I firmly believe, and I've asked for people to prove me wrong. I honestly mean this. Prove me wrong. I really want someone to prove me wrong about this. With the exception of people who follow James Lindsay's work closely, I truly believe that the people who are engaging with my content on a regular basis, especially happy hours on Fridays at 5 p.m. and socialism Saturdays on Saturdays at 6 p.m., I actually really do truly believe that we know more about what's going on in the world than like anyone else on the internet. I really believe that, with the exception of James Lindsay's audience that follows him and his podcasts very closely, not the Twitter bullshit, the podcasts. And I would love for someone to prove me wrong. I really would. If there are people who know more than us, I want to talk to them. But I don't think that there are. Anyway. So we've established that our two pillars are capitalism and the gender binary. Now let's break it down. The woke left wants to abolish private property. This is like basic. This is 101 level. The woke left wants to abolish private property. It's their number one goal. It's in the Communist Manifesto, all that good stuff. What I mean when I say private property is your ability to privately own a house, your ability to privately own a car, your ability to privately own a business, your ability to privately own land, anything that you own. The woke left wants to abolish your private ownership of it. When they say you will own nothing and you will be happy, this is what they mean. They mean appliances. Yup, they don't want you to have a private kitchen. They want the kitchen to be communal. This is why they're pushing 15-minute cities, because if everything's within 15 minutes in the city, then that eliminates your need to like own a car, own a house, because you'll have an apartment, etc. You'll be assigned to your apartment, etc., etc. So they want to eliminate all private property ownership. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that private property ownership also includes your children. They consider children to be private property of their parents. That's why one of the main things that they're going after in schools is parental rights. That's why they're attacking parental rights. They want to abolish parental rights. When they abolish parental rights, they believe that they will liberate, this is the language that they use, liberate children from their parents. And yes, exactly, LK. Barbie owns her own dream house. She is the bourgeois. Exactly. I didn't even think of that, but that is a great point. So, I want you to think about dystopian fiction, because these ideas come from somewhere. The Giver, Logan's Run, Brave New World, they were trying to do it in 1984. These are all societies in which the collective, the state, cares for the children. They're societies in which children are born in state-run nurseries. The children are assigned to the parents, or they are brought up like via the state. That's quite literally what they want to create. You can't liberate children from their parents as long as the biological nuclear family stands, and that's why the Communist Manifesto specifically calls for abolishing the family specifically. Well, no, you're not. No, you're not. There is not one individual in the world that is proof that I'm wrong about anything. Well, I'm sorry, bro. You've given me no evidence that this is true. So you can go ahead and in the chat, like, whatever. So let me take a drink. Hang on. See, the thing is, Wizard, a lot of you believe you know what's going on, and then you start talking. The problem is you start talking, just like Ben Shapiro did. You start talking, and as soon as you start talking, those of us who actually know what's going on start to realize that you don't know what's going on. So keep talking, and we'll see whether or not you know what's going on very, very, very quickly. And bring the receipts if you think I'm wrong. All right. Capitalism upholds individualism and meritocracy. You cannot. Yes. Yes. But it's not abolishing gender. It's abolishing the gender binary. It's important that we be specific about this. But yes, generally speaking, that is correct. Capitalism upholds individualism and meritocracy. You cannot abolish private property and create a collectivist society in which everyone belongs to everyone else and you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, individualism and meritocracy still stand. Those ideas cannot exist in any meaningful way without free market capitalism. Is everyone on board with this? If capitalism falls, individualism and meritocracy fall. Does everyone understand? Okay. The gender binary upholds the nuclear biological family. You cannot have a nuclear family without the gender binary, and the gender binary existing perpetuates the existence of the nuclear biological family as a simple biological reality. Let me just break it down, guys. As long as there are men and there are women, those men and women, when a man and a woman are in love and they want to have a baby, they will do the deed and have the baby, okay? Like this is just a biological reality. Until they do gene therapy on everyone, which they will do in a world in which all children are born via surrogacy. I want to make this very clear. The only reality in which men and women will stop procreating with each other in order to create the children is a world in which they have quite literally done gene therapy on us to make us not want to procreate with each other anymore. Everyone on board with that, okay? Now, what happens, what the woke left wants to do, and what I talk about in this video, is they literally want to create a world in which all children are born via surrogacy. They want the state to be responsible for the collective care of the children, like in Brave New World, or The Giver, or Logan's Run. When they do that, of course they're going to do gene therapy on us to genetically engineer us in any way they want to. And at that point, they can genetically engineer out our desire to procreate with each other. But for right now, anyway, as long as the gender binary exists, when the state is not responsible for the nuclear family, then we're going to continue to procreate because that's a basic biological urge that we have to perpetuate the species, and you'd literally have to rewire the brain to get rid of that. So, what they have to do now is attack the thing that gives us those biological urges to encourage us to drug ourselves out of the feeling until gene therapy anyway. And they do that by attacking the gender binary. When they're putting kids on hormones in schools or hormone suppressant or cross-sex hormones or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they are drugging these kids out of their normal biological urges. When they do bottom surgery on someone, that quite literally makes it impossible for them to have an orgasm in their adult life, which is what bottom surgery does. They will never have an orgasm. Like, really think about that. What happens when you never have an orgasm? Are you going to have a desire to procreate willy-nilly? I mean, you can at that point anyway. The genitals don't work. Doesn't work that way. But that's what they're doing in attacking the gender binary, in pushing all this bullshit on people, in doing this to kids. They're attacking the gender binary because they're using it as a way to attack the nuclear family. Does everyone understand? Anytime you see the term queer, you need to think of them attacking the gender binary. Okay, if you don't understand in the chat, I need you to quite literally tell me what you don't understand so we can address it. Just saying no is not, it's not good enough. I need more, okay? Queer is not about being trans. You have got to separate these two words in your head. There are normal trans people that transitioned as adults, that made the adult decision to do that. They're allowed to do that. They're allowed to do what they want to do with their body, that do not consider themselves to be queer. And you do not have to be trans or gay to be queer. You just need to declare that you're queer. Yes, Wizard, you do know this. All right. So every time you hear the word queer, what you need to think in your head is queer Marxists attacking the gender binary. Well, just because it's not good for your society doesn't mean it's not good for theirs. We have fundamentally different values than them. What's better for you is worse for them. What's worse for them is better for you. What's better for them is worse for you. What's worse for you is better for them. We have different values. They're already working on it. This is not theoretical. They are going to figure out a way to grow babies in pods. They are 100% going to figure out a way to grow babies in pods. They're already working on it. Guys, this is all documented in like medical journals and stuff. What I don't understand is the Barbie movies still seem to be about attacking relationships. Nope. And promoting the boss babe narrative that gives a gateway to this woke stuff. No. No. The problem that you're grasping with is that your conservative influencers have taught you that anything that makes women feel good is woke. Anything that has women working outside the home is woke. Anything that has women in an empowered position is woke. That's the problem. That is a right-leaning talking point. That is not a left-leaning talking point. That is a right-leaning talking point. You guys have essentially been conned by your influencers, is what's happened. Let me just like get real basic about it. All right. What does any of this have to do with Barbie? Aha, but if you've been paying attention, you already know. Barbie is literally a movie celebrating capitalism. Barbie is celebrating capitalism. Barbie could not be celebrating capitalism anymore if they tried. Barbie literally owns a dream home on her own. It's her own dream home. This is like the woke left's worst nightmare. A woman owning a dream home. She's part of the bourgeois simply by owning a dream home. Barbie, because she's a boss bitch, pointing out something someone said earlier about, like, this is a movie about people, like women being bosses. Where was that? Because Barbie is a boss babe, that also makes her part of the bourgeois. Do you know who's in the bourgeois? Bourgeois is the same as whiteness, okay? Bourgeois, private property owners, CEOs, landlords, uh, business owners. Barbie is literally part of the bourgeois in every possible way. And not only is Barbie herself emblematic of the bourgeois, but the movie not only promotes capitalism in that, like, someone reminded me yesterday, there used to be whole aisles in toy stores dedicated to Barbie. Does anyone else remember this? There were, if you walked into like a toy store, I don't even know what the names of toy stores anymore. They're like KB Toys and Toys R Us and stuff like that when I was a kid. There would be entire aisles dedicated to Barbie. There is nothing more bourgeois and capitalistic than Barbie. And not only did Barbie just exemplify capitalism back in the day, I would bet you money that this movie is going to create a resurgence of Barbie, where now an entire new generation are going to want Barbies, and they're going to want all the Barbie outfits, and they're going to want more Barbie dolls, which is going to create more capitalism and more dream homes and more cars. And this is what we should all want, guys. We like capitalism. We fucking love capitalism. And no, a woman working outside the home is not woke. A woman having a career is not woke. Don't claim to believe in individualism and meritocracy when you only apply that to men. Why can't women have individualism and meritocracy as well? If a woman wants to work outside the home and go be a boss bitch and have her fucking pink dream car and her pink outfit, who cares? It's not your business. It's her life. That's the American way. FAO Schwartz had an entire fucking Barbie room. Exactly. Exactly. And if Barbie had come out now, there'd probably be entire Barbie stores. What, there was like the American Girl store, right? There would totally be Barbie stores now. Maybe there will be Barbie stores. Who knows? But Barbie is not just emblematic of capitalism. Barbie also celebrates and upholds the gender binary. Everyone mount the like button for capitalism, please. Thank you, Philosophist. Barbie also celebrates and upholds the gender binary. And I don't care if there was one trans actor in the movie. I don't care. Barbie is a woman. Ken is a man. And Barbie stays a woman throughout the entire movie, even when she goes from having no genitalia to having a real big girl vagina at the end. I heard about that part, okay? Barbie is a woman and stays a woman the entire movie. Ken is a man and stays a man the entire movie. This is about men versus women. This is about a tale as old as time, guys. If you have a gender binary, you are always going to have stories about men versus women, and you're just all going to have to get used to that idea. The end of the movie very literally said, maybe we should abolish the matriarchy and treat the Kens a little bit better. And I'll tell you this too, if you want to get rid of this whole patriarchy thing, then you are supporting the abolition of the gender binary. You're actually supporting the abolition of the gender binary way more than Barbie was. And by the way, trans people existing actually support the gender binary. They don't detract from the gender binary, because if you're a trans person, guess what? You're transitioning from man to woman or woman to man. It still upholds the gender binary. Trans people are not the problem. Queer Marxists are the problem. Non-binary people are the problem. So conservatives can whine all they like about how woke Barbie is, and it is nothing more than proof that they do not understand the woke left. They do not understand what the woke left believes, what the woke left wants, or their real goals. And yes, Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh have no fucking idea what they're fighting, even though they spend so much time acting as though they do. So that, guys, is why Barbie is the least woke movie of the year. I'm going to do a quick pause. Are there any questions or clarification in the chat? And I promise, if you're asking a question for real and not being a dick, I won't yell at you, okay? But it's got to be a real question. I don't want any of this bullshit, backhanded, passive-aggressive, conservative bullshit. Does everyone understand why this movie is probably the least woke movie of the year? Illustration Station. What about the theys? They're queer, right? So queer is binary and they are dangerous, and they are the dangerous. Yes. Yes. Now, this is correct. The theys, the non-binary, that falls under queer Marxism. However, most of the people who believe they're queer or non-binary, they believe that because they've been brainwashed and they're actually useful idiots. They're victims of the system. And so I don't want anyone, I don't think it serves us to consider, especially like young people, like teenagers, people in their 20s. Like, I don't think it serves us to consider young people who say they're non-binary as like the enemy, because they were indoctrinated into this ideology. They're victims of the ideology. They believe this is true, probably because they fucking learned it in school. It's the schools that are the problem. It is the schools that are propagating this ideology. It is the schools who are teaching kids that they're non-binary when non-binary is just the advancement of queer Marxism. Yes, I do. We watch them every single week on my channel, Socialism Saturday at 6 p.m. And I'm fairly certain I already told you this. Yes, they are aware. They literally teach it. They've literally been teaching it for decades. I will show you the video. Go back and watch any Socialism Saturday and you will see. Let's see. I'm already losing my voice. Yelling so much. I just want to make sure I've got everyone's questions because I am actually serious about this. I still don't get it completely. Isn't a boss babe narrative? No. Nope, 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 nope. Women are allowed to work outside of the home. Women are allowed to not have children. None of these things abolishes the gender binary. If you believe they do abolish the gender binary, it's probably because you have been lied to by conservative influencers who are pushing their conservative Christian values that state that they want women to be meek and silent and barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen. And they can want that all they want. But quite frankly, I think a weak fucking silent woman barefoot in the kitchen abolishes the gender binary more than a woman going out and having a job. So, nope, wrong. Let's see. That doesn't mean you treat them like the enemy. If you treat them like the enemy, you never wake them up. You make them more extreme in their ideology, just like you assholes did to Dylan Mulvaney when you harassed and abused Dylan Mulvaney to within an inch of his sanity. Dylan Mulvaney used to be relatively moderate. He was relatively moderate in his words that he actually said until the conservative right just kept haranguing him every single fucking day. And now he's actually become more extremist. Congratulations. You guys created an extremist by making Dylan Mulvaney your enemy when Dylan Mulvaney was a victim of this ideology as much as anyone. The right made Dylan Mulvaney a problem. Dylan Mulvaney was fine until they got involved. If these right-wing people start to learn what their enemies are, start to watch you or James, you think they will be able to admit that they were wrong? Nope. I don't. I don't think they'll be able to admit that they were wrong. Which is why I think we're doomed to lose, to be honest, because the right would rather dig in their heels and be wrong than learn something correctly and win. The right prioritizes being victims of the world. They would much rather be a victim and be wrong and lose than understand what they're fighting and actually be productive and win. So no, I don't think that they would. I don't think that they would. Exactly. The Barbie movie is a movie about inequality of the sexes and how it sucks for everyone. Exactly. Exactly. Rottweiler, thank you again. And the Marxists will discard queer activists as they did with regular gay, bi, and lesbians, use history because history uses people and then discards them, as Hegel said. That's exactly right, Rottweiler. Exactly right. What point do these young people cross over into activists who push it? When they become true believers. They don't start out as true believers. But the schools are accelerating it. I mean, the schools are certainly accelerating it, and the fact that nothing's being done in any real way about the schools. Having a job and a boss babe narrative are not the same thing. Why don't you want women to be bosses? What is it about a woman running a company that pisses you off so much, that offends your fragile sensibilities so much? Running a company is a job. Being a CEO is a job. Having any high-level position is a job. And by the way, again, because you didn't listen the first time I said it or the second time I said it, because I've said it at least twice, the fact that Barbie is a boss babe makes her part of the bourgeois, which upholds capitalism, which is against what the woke left want. The only people who have a problem with women being CEOs are Christian conservatives. My answer would be it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter that Dylan Mulvaney went to the White House. What does matter is when Dylan Mulvaney went to the White House, Dylan Mulvaney was relatively moderate in her views. Relatively moderate, had just put out a video saying, you know, kids, you don't need to rush right into being trans. Don't rush right into being trans. It's a good idea not to rush right into being trans. Dylan Mulvaney was literally saying the right things, and the conservative right didn't know that because they're like, Dylan Mulvaney went to the White House. Why weren't we invited to the White House? Dylan Mulvaney went to the White House. Why weren't we invited to the White House? Why does Dylan Mulvaney get everything we don't get? And then they went on for months and months and months and months and months and months and months, harassing and haranguing Dylan Mulvaney every single day of Dylan's life. And they made Dylan an extremist with a really big platform. So you assholes are the ones that radicalized Dylan Mulvaney with all this bullshit. Because you never give anything up. You never let anything go. You are absolutely fucking incapable of focusing on anything that matters. You are fucking incapable of focusing on things that actually move the needle. But Dylan Mulvaney went to the White House. Who the fuck cares? Who gives a flying fuck who goes to the White House? Joe Biden has fucking dementia. Joe Biden doesn't remember what happened yesterday afternoon, let alone whatever Dylan Mulvaney said on the visit to the White House. I am so fucking sick of people saying, but we had to harass Dylan Mulvaney like the good Christians that we are. We had to exercise our good Christian values by harassing and haranguing Dylan Mulvaney to within an inch of her fucking sanity. We had to do it. Jesus made us. The Lord made us do it. And we had to do it because Dylan Mulvaney was invited to the White House. That's literally you right now. That's literally you. I told you I would answer real questions. I'm not going to answer fucking stupid shit, okay? Let me just look through the chat. I'm sure I just made many people cry with that little rant. Let me just check in over on Rumble. How many tears do we have on Rumble? No tears on Rumble. Impressive. Impressive. Let me see. Just scrolling through the chat, guys. Hang on. Give me a second to catch up. This is a right-wing narrative. This is not a left-wing narrative. This is a right-wing narrative. The boss babe narrative is the left pushing women to only pursue careers and not have kids and shaming women for choosing to stay at home. Well, you guys shame women for having jobs. You guys shame women for not having kids. You guys shame women for not being a size 2. You guys shame women if they don't have the right haircut. You guys shame women if women don't show off their boobs or their legs in whatever outfit they're wearing. You guys shame women all the time, so I don't want to fucking hear it. You shame women for just as many things as the left does, if not more. When I'm called fat and ugly on the internet every single day of my life for the past 3 years, I promise you, it wasn't the left doing it. It was the right doing it. I just learned of this problem, but I just see no solutions to it. The solutions are to start taking back the schools and to take the schools seriously, which you guys refuse to do because drag queens, groomers. There are plenty of solutions. I wrote a whole book with solutions. The problem is you guys hear about a problem, you're like, I don't know how to solve it. I give up. What you're talking about is upholding conservative Christian values, and no, we don't want that shit. I don't want it. I mean, if you want conservative Christian values in your own home, it's your home, do whatever you want. But what you're talking about is not woke. It is conservative Christian. Hang on, just scrolling through the chat, guys. You're right. There are plenty of leftists who hate Dylan Mulvaney. You want to know why they used to hate Dylan Mulvaney? Because Dylan Mulvaney was a moderate. You are absolutely right that there are plenty on the left that hated Dylan Mulvaney for being too fucking moderate. And then the right harangued Dylan Mulvaney into within an inch of Dylan Mulvaney's sanity. And now Dylan Mulvaney is more on their team. Congratulations. You guys created a staunch leftist with a really large fucking platform. Anyway, I seem to have caught up in the chat, and there are still people here, even though I am yelling and shaming people who ask stupid questions. So it's going to be a good day, apparently. But guys, what I want to do next is I want to watch some of this Ben Shapiro video. And I want to see all the things he got wrong. And I want to take a moment to drink some water, to have a cough drop, to regain my yelling voice, because I am sure that I'm going to have one or two feelings about all of the things that Ben Shapiro doesn't know as we make our way through this video. All right, guys, please mount that like button for me if you enjoy a good rant. Let's see what he had to say.
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is the best blockbuster of 2023 and which one is maybe the worst.
I bet I loved our movie, right, Ken?
For those of you who can't wait that long, I'm going to give my review of the Barbie movie in the most Oppenheimer fashion.
Run.
So the things I do for my audience, my producers dragged me to go see Barbie the movie. And I have thoughts. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Let me begin with my generalized assessment of the movie. This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog shit piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill filled with dog shit. It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. On every possible level, it is a horrific movie. The only thing that can be said for this film is production design.
So what you're telling me is that Ben Shapiro went to see a movie for women that he was not the target audience of at all, and he hated the movie that was not targeted to him. Why do these conservative men believe that they can just invade women's spaces and take over women's spaces and expect that the movies that are made for women about nostalgic moments in women's childhood should bend the knee to what conservative men want them to fucking be? These, like, how many videos has Ben Shapiro made reeing about trans women in women's spaces, trans women in women's spaces, trans women in women's spaces? Well, Ben, I have a suggestion for you. GTFO. This movie was not for you. It was not about your childhood. Do not ruin it for the suburban moms who you want to vote for you in 2024, or we want to vote for your team anyway, who loved this movie because the movie was targeted at them. If you don't like women's spaces, get the fuck out of women's spaces. It is really that simple. No one invited you anyway.
Production design is really nice. Costumes are really nice. Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big. Okay? It's really not tough. But put aside all of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes.
So what Ben is telling us is that he doesn't understand how make-believe works. I did a whole rant earlier in the stream about how conservatives don't know how to create art because conservatives can't think creatively, because conservatives have an inflexible, mindset that doesn't allow them to think creatively. And now Ben Shapiro, within the first 2 minutes of his review of Barbie, is quite literally telling us he doesn't understand how make-believe works. Kids play make-believe, Ben. When girls, not boys, girls are playing with Barbies, they are imagining the shower. They know there's no fucking water. It is called fucking make-believe.
No more jokes for the rest of the film. The movie's a shit show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a shit show. I want to ask this. Who is the intended audience for this film? Who's the intended audience for this film? So I'll tell you who the intended audience for this film is. And I can tell two ways. One, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters.
No,
that's the intended audience
Sherlock.
for the film. I know, because the previews for the film were all kids movies. I'm talking like G or PG rated kids films. We're talking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Trolls.
Hang on. I'm sorry. The previews played during Barbie is how Harvard Law School graduate Ben Shapiro realized that Barbie was targeted towards women and their daughters. It wasn't because it's a Barbie movie. It wasn't because Barbies are targeted at girls and have been the entire time of their existence. The one clue that Ben Shapiro had about who the Barbie movie was targeted to were the previews that were associated with the movie. Harvard Law School, ladies and gentlemen.
4 or whatever it is. Those were all the previews, right? All the previews are actually directed at what the audience is supposed to be for this film. And if you look in the audience, it's a bunch of moms youngish moms,
I
middle-aged
can't
moms
imagine
with their
why,
like
Ben.
6, 7, 8-year-old girls. That's the entire crew. This movie is not made for any of those people. In fact, this movie is made for no one. This movie is going to make a bunch of money week one because the marketing effort has been extraordinary. I mean, whoever's the marketing team.
If the movie was made for no one, then there would not be entire theaters of women all wearing pink hats, Ben. If the movie was made for no one, there wouldn't be mothers taking their daughters to this movie and crying about how much it made them remember their childhood and how it was glorious and how they want to find their old Barbies and play with their Barbies with their girls, which is actually a really nice, wholesome thing. If this movie was not targeted towards anyone, it wouldn't be making a metric ton of money. If this movie wasn't targeted towards anyone, then people wouldn't be coming out saying, look at all this Barbie pink that I have that I'm going to wear to the movie. And they wouldn't be having watch parties where they go and have cocktails and then go to the fucking Barbie movie wearing all pink. The idea that this is made for no one is one of the most ridiculous things that Ben Shapiro has ever said, because if it was made for no one, we would literally not be talking about it.
Over at Warner Brothers is doing an amazing job. Week one, this thing is going to clean up at the domestic box office. My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach,
oh my God,
that they have no audience.
Ben Shapiro is stupid.
Greta
Gerwig
thought it's a great idea.
No
Let's bring
audience?
on the people who wrote Lady Bird and Marriage Story to make a movie about a plastic doll that is generally played with by 5 to 9-year-old young girls. So the basic idea of the film, they really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of...
One of the best-selling toys of all time, Ben. You really think that one of the best-selling toys of all time, that used to have entire fucking aisles dedicated to it in the toy store, isn't going to create repeat business? Are you... What has the Daily Wire been doing since they went to Nashville? Has the water in Nashville, turned them stupid?
Of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women.
That's not
that seems to be the final outcome of this film.
That's literally not the final outcome. I was trying to separate this into
problems with plot and problems with character and problems.
The final outcome of the film is that the women that are running the matriarchal society that is Barbie Land figures out they need to treat the men better. The outcome of the movie that Ben Shapiro obviously fell asleep in at some point is literally the opposite of what Ben Shapiro just said. Oh my God. I haven't even seen this movie. I haven't even seen this and I'm pissed off.
With the politics of the film, but they're all intertwined because the thing is just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. So let's just go through it from the beginning. There's going to be lots of spoilers, but believe you me, I'm about to save you so much time because this movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end. Every scene is at least 2 minutes too long. Every single scene, every beat is 2 minutes too long. It is a bad film. Put aside the politics, really. I was sitting there with a bunch of my producers. I'm a little bit more political than my producers. My producers were watching this, putting the politics aside. It is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because the way that it works for the reviewers is if you have the right politics, and those politics are sufficiently slyly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, even if the thing is just Drek. And I mean, boy, is this Drek. This is a Death Star-sized piece of Drek. It is that's no moon. That's
I'm
a
looking up the
Drek
Rotten
station.
Tomatoes review right now.
That this movie. Okay, so let's jump into it. I have pages and pages of notes on this horrific piece of. I mean, my goodness. Okay, so
conservatives always tout the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes as proof that conservative movies are loved by audiences and hated by critics. Well, Ben is correct that the critics have a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes for Barbie. The audience score is 88%, Ben. The audience is positively reviewing Barbie. Not 100%, but 88% ain't nothing to complain about. And I'm going to bet you that 12% that didn't like the movie were all men who the movie was not targeted for in the first place.
So let's start right at the beginning. So it's from the beginning, you know what this movie is going to be, and it's going to be a very cynical take on what Barbie is, which is so weird. I don't know why Mattel would turn over its IP to filmmakers who clearly hate the IP. It's as though you were going to make Toy Story, except that toys are all evil. They're all bad, and you're supposed to hate them, and you should burn them. Because that's kind of the message of the film, is that the Barbies are bad for the world. Okay, so it begins by trying to uphold the original vision of Barbie. What was the original magical vision of Barbie? We have Helen Mirren here to tell us in the form of a narrator apparently played by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's speaking from heaven. And we get a 2001 A Space Odyssey flashback, which again, who's the audience for this? Like the reference points in this film, it references variously Marcel Proust. It references Robert Evans and the cinematography of The Godfather. It references 2001 A Space Odyssey. This is a movie made for moms and their 7-year-old girls.
That was 2001 A Space Odyssey. Oh, sure.
Well, folks, wasting 2 hours of my precious time, 2 hours I will never get back. 2 hours where on my deathbed, I will wish that I had not spent that time doing. Makes me viscerally angry. But I'm going to talk to you about something that makes me much happier.
Commercial.
And that is our trusted privacy partner.
No, he's not getting a fucking commercial. Nope, no commercial. No.
Girls would only play with dolls that look like babies. And then she says that this could be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask your mother, because your mother actually hates you and doesn't like being a mom, you see. So if you ask your mom, she wants to play at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is Barbie is supposed to be the independent woman who liberates all womanhood, but she fails. And she fails for two reasons. One, she's actually a tool of the patriarchal capitalist system. And two, the real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything. Okay, so this is all not implicit. This is explicitly said. At the beginning, the monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. At least that's what the Barbies think. See, in the real world, women can't be anything. And that's one of the messages of the film. In the real world, men run pretty much everything, which is weird. Who greenlit this piece of shit? I mean, Greta Gerwig is a lady. She's making a good living off of this. Margot Robbie is playing the lead. In fact, the entire cast, aside from basically Ryan Gosling, is women. So it seems like women are doing okay. But again,
because it was a satire, you fucking moron. Do they teach satire at Harvard Law School? Yeah. Did you grow up with a sister or a mother, Ben?
Put aside the meta logic of it. I'm going to go through like a lot of beats here. So it starts off with the idea that mommy dolls are bad and insufficient. But then they criticize Mattel for discontinuing a mommy doll named Midge. Right? Midge is the pregnant doll and it was discontinued. They're like, that's bad. But hold on, you just said that dolls about motherhood are bad, but then this one, don't look for any sort of logical coherence. There is a Citizens United reference. They say all of the members of the Barbie Supreme Court are women.
So Ben is upset that they made a point about motherhood being important. So is motherhood important, Ben, or is it not? Because you just contradicted yourself in the same way that you claim the Barbie movie contradicted itself. Do you think motherhood is important, Ben? Do you want them talking about how motherhood is good, or do you want them shitting on motherhood? Because you literally just contradicted yourself.
And then they are speaking out about Citizens United, that corporations are not people. It's literally a Citizens United reference. Who is the audience for this? Women! Who's the 7-year-old girl who's like, yes, I too have a very informed perspective on the Citizens United decision. And then they say that logic and feeling at the same time, it doesn't diminish us. It proves that we are more than, right? It's all propagandistic. And then it sets up the dichotomy. The dichotomy is that men and women are in complete and utter contradistinction in terms of their roles. So women only exist if they are completely free of men, and men only exist if they are completely free of women. And the problem is set up for Ken, is that Ken is dependent on Barbie, right? Because Ken is kind of secondary. And we also set up at the very beginning that Barbie doesn't like Ken. She finds Ken annoying. She finds Ken ridiculous, which again is sort of against the concept of Ken and Barbie. But the basic idea is that Barbie is an independent woman and Ken is completely superfluous. We then go to the beach, and there's a scene on the beach where the Kens are supposed to be the lifeguards, and the ladies are playing on the beach. And we get a series of gay masturbation jokes. Again, there's an audience for children. They're talking about beaching each other off.
And their mothers.
There's a line where Ken says to another one of
Ben, sometimes when you have kids, and I don't know why I need to explain this because I don't have kids and you do have kids, but I'm gonna try to step into my role as like make believe parent that maybe I would have been in another timeline where I had less money and less freedom than I do now. I'm going to surmise, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, that when parents bring their children to the movies, sometimes, just sometimes, it's nice when the movie can entertain both the parents and the children. It's like you make adult jokes that are just covered in enough sugary sweetness so as not to be age inappropriate, and those jokes amuse the parents. And then you make kid jokes that will amuse the children. And that way, everyone that goes to the 2-hour movie that was obviously targeted towards mothers and their children, everyone gets a little entertainment. Everyone gets a little laugh. Everyone gets a little enjoyment. That's why the movie has jokes for adults and for children. I don't know why Harvard Law School doesn't know this.
Of the Kens, I'm going to beat you off. Get it? Get it? You get it? Because it's like beat you off, but beat you off. And then they repeat that no less than 4 or 5 times in the span of 45 seconds.
If I wasn't severely injured, I would beat you off right now, Ken.
I'll beat you off with you any day, Ken.
Anyone who wants to beat him off has to beat me off first.
I will beat both of you off at the same time.
That's actually hilarious.
Nobody's
Okay,
gonna
that's
beat
funny.
anyone off.
That's funny.
Bazinga.
Because it's just such a great gay masturbation joke. You got to go for
That
it.
was
I mean,
funny. I'm
what else
sorry.
will the 7-year-old girls in the audience think if you don't go for the gay masturbation joke on the beach? Clearly. We get black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. So Kamala Harris, the Barbie version, is the president of the United States. And then we get the break, right? Then we get the actual plot point. Plot point number 1. Barbie has irrepressible thoughts of death. So again, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a kid's movie? Isn't this supposed to be made for 7-year-old girls?
And their
Nope.
mothers.
It's about existential
And their
angst
mothers.
over mortality. That's what this film is about. Now, again, interlaced through all of this is just more and more and more politics, right? One of the Barbies is a trans Barbie, and this is treated totally normally, as though this is a female Barbie with a voice, again, deeper than my own. So Barbie starts to have these irrepressible thoughts of death, and this comes along with physical symptoms, like, for example, her feet flatten out. Again, this is one of the few cute jokes in the movie, is that Barbie walks around, and just like a normal Barbie doll, when you take off the shoes, the feet are shaped like the shoe, like the high heel. But now she is turning into like a real world person, and so her feet collapse, right? And so she goes to see Weird Barbie. So Weird Barbie is a Barbie that has been played with too hard and has all the knowledge, not only about Barbie land, but also about the real world. And apparently there's a connection between the people playing with the Barbies and the Barbies. So if the people playing with Barbies are sad, then the Barbies also get sad. Weird that this has only happened to Barbie, because it turns out that lots of people are sad and have played with Barbies for a very long time. But that's the plot point. Fine. And again, the concept of like a Barbie that was played with too hard is very funny, because everybody has seen that before. And they somehow blow this. Somehow they make this into a not funny thing. So Weird Barbie is ugly, and she has bad makeup and all the rest of it. And she informs Barbie she has to go to the real world, and she has to find the person who is playing with her, and she has to make that person feel better, because that will heal the problem that she's having in Barbie land. Okay, so we have our plot point, right? We have the thing that's going to launch us off into the rest of the movie. And then it's just a complete mess from here on in. At least to this point, it's kind of dumb but coherent. From here on in, it makes no sense at all. Again, Kate McKinnon sets up the dichotomy that pretty much the makers of the film hate Barbie by suggesting that you can live in Fantasyland with Barbie, and you can take the Barbie shoe, or you can take Birkenstocks, right? You can become like a Portland lesbian, and you can learn about reality. That's going to be the choice that you have to make.
This
but not
review
before she
makes
makes
no
a
sense.
joke about Ken and wanting to see the nude blob he is packing under those pants.
That's so.
Come on.
Somebody said that?
Perfect for 8-year-old girls.
Come on. There is not a single fucking 8-year-old girl that has ever owned a Barbie or a Ken that hasn't, purposefully looked under the fucking clothes, okay? It's just, come on. Does Ben Shapiro really not understand this? And there's nothing there. There's nothing to even... We all fucking looked, Ben. You're a kid. This is how you learn about, or start to learn about, such things. Oh my God.
Ladies, mothers, just be warned. Ken and Barbie head off to the real world to try to find the person who is playing with Barbie. And immediately upon arriving in the real world, Barbie is hit with an overwhelming tsunami of sexism. Like right away, boom. She walks in and a bunch of men just leer at her and say, "Give us a smile, Blondie," which is something that no one under the age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past. "Give us a smile, Blondie." Seriously? We get Barbie explaining that all of the men who are leering at her and gazing at her, they have an undertone of violence. Everything's she's threatened. She's physically threatened because this is the real world. The real world is not like Barbie Land. In the real world, all women are.
Wait, are these the same conservatives that are like showing videos of what's happening in cities all day, every day, going, "You're in danger. You can't even walk down the street in San Francisco. Everything is dangerous. You're going to literally die if you go out in a city." And now he's saying, now Ben Shapiro's like, I just don't know why Barbie would be so surprised to live in a dangerous world where people are like, touching her and doing this stuff that she. It's like you guys sell this outrage porn bullshit all the time, but then a movie comments on it and you're pissed off. Dragon Water, Ben Shapiro has become the feminist movie critic he hates. Ain't it the truth, Dragon Water? Ain't it the truth?
Are victims. They are deep and abiding victims of the system, as we'll learn by the use of the word patriarchy no less than 10 times in this film. She gets arrested like twice for various crimes. Even the police officers are rabid, raging sexists. The police officers are hitting on Barbie.
Wow.
They're making observations about her appearance. Ken, meanwhile, is getting super happy because Ken, who's been sort of an underling in Barbie Land, now he's realizing he's part of the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is awesome. Ken is loving the patriarchy. Now, you might imagine at this point that the way the film is going to go is that Ken and Barbie are going to have to some sort of agreement about seeing each other as equal human beings. You might imagine
exactly
that's
wrong.
That's not where the film is going to go.
That's exactly what happens at the end of the movie.
Was Ken gets treated with respect as a person, and Barbie gets treated with respect as a person, and that's a better. Nope, wrong. In the end, not to skip ahead, Barbie Land just gets restored, and the men are still subservient. That's the best.
That's not what happened at the end of the movie, Ben. What happened at the end of the movie, and I know this because I've heard about it from like 15 fucking people in the last day and a half, is that Barbie decided that they weren't treating Ken very well and wanted to treat Ken better. Ben Shapiro is flat fucking lying. Did he fall asleep? Was he not paying attention? Did he not do his one job? This is literally the end of the movie, is that Kens get equal treatment.
Version of the world. Okay, so Ken is walking around and he's really enjoying the patriarchy and all of this. And he explains that men rule this world. And he goes to Mattel, and all the members of the board are men. By the way, I'd like to see a corporate breakdown of the Mattel board. I'll bet I can find it. Like the CEO of Mattel for 30 years was a woman. So there's that. They pretend that like Mattel is all run by men. So I just now I want to know who's on the board.
Because it's a satire.
Okay, chairman and CEO is a dude. The board includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It includes 5 women. So it's 6 men and 5 women. Clearly patriarchal domination. It's
a
just wanted to look that up just for the sake of, accuracy. Whenever I do these reviews, like, oh, you're taking the movie too seriously. The movie takes itself too seriously, guys.
It's a fucking
It pretends to be a comedy, but it's taking itself super seriously. Fine. So it's all men at the top of Mattel, and they realize that Barbie and Ken have escaped Barbie Land. And this presents some sort of threat. What kind of threat? Because
I just want to say that a lot of people on the internet think they've seen me angry. They think when I yell, I'm generally angry. No, I can raise my voice without being angry, but now I'm starting to get fucking angry. This is a satire, you fucking moron. You think this movie takes itself too seriously? This is a fucking satire. This is why conservatives don't create art right here. They aren't even able to correctly identify satire when it's right goddamn in front of them.
the writers are shitty, they don't bother explaining. They're just like, a threat. And Will Ferrell acts all weird and goofy, like Will Ferrell. And he's funny because it's Will Ferrell acting weird and goofy. But he's not funny because it's just Will Ferrell with no actual plot or dialogue to speak of, just being weird. We'll fill that in later. There's so many places in the script where it's basically like the writers just, they left a gap and they're like, we'll leave a couple asterisks, we'll fill it in later. And then later they got there and they're like, nah, we'll just skip right over it. Fine. So they figured they got to track down Barbie and Ken. And meanwhile, Barbie is trying to track down the girl who's playing with her. And she mistakenly thinks that it is a teenage girl who is playing with her and who is unhappy. And at this point, she receives a lecture from the teenage
No,
girl about how Barbie
it's a
has
mother.
ruined the world and actually is fascist. How Barbie is a sexualized capitalistic emblem. How Barbie has created unattainable feminine ideals.
And then Barbie corrects her on the definition of fascism, mocking the social justice fucking thing that's going on in the movie. The heroine of the movie openly mocks the woke social justice bullshit. Let's see if Ben points that out. Even I know that happened. I didn't even see the movie.
Barbie is ruining the planet with rampant consumerism. You get like this full lecture right in the middle of the film. It's truly awful. It's truly awful. She's called a fascist. By the way, it only sets up the
And then Barbie corrects her and says, no, this isn't really fascism. This is the definition of fascism. She's completely rebuffed. The woke plot point is completely rebuffed by our capitalist queen, Barbie. God.
only good line of the film. Truly, in my opinion, there's one good line in the film. And that is where Barbie is trying to contemplate whether she's a fascist or not. And she says, I don't control the railways or the flow of commerce.
Exactly.
Now, there's only one problem with that line. As with the entire movie, there is no character consistency. Barbie is supposed to be an idiot bubblehead piece of plastic from Barbie land. How does she know what a fascist is? How does she know?
Ben Shapiro is literally pissed off that in the Barbie movie that he claims is woke, he is pissed off that the blonde Barbie, who's supposed to be stupid in Ben's world, because blonde women are apparently stupid in Ben Shapiro's world. I know he lives at the Daily Wire, so I mean, that makes sense, whatever. He is literally pissed off that Barbie correctly defines fascism. He is literally pissed off that the hero of the movie rebuffs a woke talking point with a correct definition because Barbie is just too blonde to know these things. Are you kidding me?
No. What about the flow of commerce? Like, again, just in terms of character consistency, like characters who actually are the characters, makes no sense whatsoever. So, meanwhile, Ken is wandering around, enjoying the patriarchy more.
Exactly. Barbie was never stupid, Ben, as anyone who ever played with a Barbie knew. Barbie could be a doctor. Barbie could be a lawyer. Barbie could be a CEO. Just because Barbie was nice and kind and had blonde hair and pretty clothes did not mean that Barbie was a bimbo, Ben. Barbie could do whatever she wanted to do, and that's why she was so popular, and that's why people loved her so much, and that's why women are taking their daughters to see the movie so that they could reminisce about how much they love Barbie. Astronaut Barbie. Like, Barbie could have any job she wanted because Barbie was smart enough to get any job she wanted. Barbie could do whatever she wanted, and she could wear fabulous pink clothes wherever she was fucking doing it.
And more and more. And he keeps asking men about the patriarchy. And at one point, he asks a dude about the patriarchy. And the guy says, well, that's not really the way that it works here anymore. He says, really? He says, no, it still works that way. We just hide it really well. Again, you can't even present the mild other side of the film. And this sort of nonsense continues. The first third of the film is about how Mattel is kind of bad for creating this fancy land. Second third of the film is about the real world evils of the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Oh, the patriarchy. Culminating in an idiotic line where one of the low-level members of Mattel is with the board and Barbie is looking for a woman at the board. And the low-level man says, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman? No, you can't parallel park. That's what makes you a woman. Okay? And in any case, we get here a few obscure jokes about Proust Barbie, because again, Noah Baumbach has to show that he wrote some of the script. He made a reference to Proust. Doesn't that make him clever? Ooh. Next, he will make a reference, I would assume, to Victor Hugo. Wow.
Ben Shapiro has never looked stupider in his life than he looks in this video. I'm sorry. I feel like Ben Shapiro used to be smart. Something has happened. Like, am I wrong to say that something has happened in the last couple of years? I haven't watched Ben Shapiro in years, so I don't know. But I feel like he was smarter the last time I watched him, and something has gone horribly wrong. Because Ben, in this review, actually looks like more of a bimbo than Barbie. I'm sorry.
Proust. Woo. Idiots who think they're smart. It's total. Okay. Then Barbie escapes the Mattel building. They were going to package her up and they were going to send her back to Barbie Land. And she instead runs and she escapes the Mattel building. And she hooks up with America Ferrera. So America Ferrera is the actual one who's playing with Barbie as a youth. And it's her daughter who Barbie had originally approached. Twist! Okay, and she decides that in order to escape the Mattel executives, she's going to have to bring both of them back to Barbie Land. Why does she bring both of them back to Barbie Land? No one knows. There's no actual...
Because it's a
there's no
mother-daughter
explanation
movie.
as to why she's supposed to bring both of them back to Barbie Land.
Because
Supposedly,
it's mother-daughter movie.
it's because she needs to escape back to Barbie Land, but she could do that without the two of them. But she decides she's going to bring them back. So she brings them back to Barbie Land. Meanwhile, the Mattel executives are chasing her. Now, question, why are they chasing her? They achieved their goal. Barbie's back in Barbie Land. Why are they still chasing her? No one knows. It doesn't make any sense. They literally say, there will be consequences you can't even imagine. And then they're like, what consequences? And they're like, fill in the blank. And some dude says something about a podcast with two trees. You're like, that's the laziest shitty writing. God bless it. Okay, anyway. So Ken, in the meantime,
and yet
is already headed,
not worse than
while
this
she was,
review.
futzing around over at Mattel, Ken is already headed back to to Barbie Land, where he has immediately established the patriarchy. So just to point out here, the point of the film is that the matriarchy is amazing. Women are amazing at everything. Ken walks in, and within 2 seconds, he has taken over all of Barbie Land, and he has turned it into the Kendom within 2 seconds. So apparently, the women are so unbelievably competent and brilliant and great at everything over in Barbie Land that an idiot man walks in and takes over the whole.
It's kind of like, Ben, it's kind of like how you guys say the woke left is stupid and full of mentally ill libtards all the time, and yet somehow the woke left have just taken over every major institution in society and have been working towards it to decades, and they control Hollywood and the news media and the government, and it's almost like these stupid mentally ill retards that you guys make fun of every single day with your liberal tears fucking Tumblr. It's almost like the mentally ill libtards owned your asses without you even knowing what was going on. Kind of the same thing, right? It's kind of like when you're not paying attention and you get too big for your fucking britches and you stop paying attention. That's when fucking snakes can come in and take over your whole world, and then you end up making reviews on the internet still looking like you don't know what's going on.
Whole place inside of 2 seconds. Fine. So he takes over the entire place. We later learn that's because the women, they didn't know what was coming. We later learned they didn't have immunity. And the way that they get immunity is by learning to hate the men. That's the way that they have to learn to hate the men. Okay, so Ken decides he's going to go back and he's going to establish his patriarchal system. We only learn this when Barbie heads back with America Ferrera and random daughter. And Ken immediately starts acting like the jerks in the patriarchy, right? He calls her baby. Oh, no. He calls her baby. The greatest of all insults. He calls her baby. And then America Ferrera is trying to explain to Barbie what exactly is going on. And she's like, it's just like the indigenous people and smallpox. They had no immunity. Howard Zinn wrote the script. So the ladies in Barbie Land had no immunity to the magic of the patriarchy, the magic. The women were seduced into... So just to point out here, the actual argument the movie is making is that if women enjoy men, it's because they have been brainwashed by the patriarchy. They make this message explicit in just a few minutes in the film. And when I say a few minutes, I mean several years, because this film took years off my life. It is long, it is boring, and it's terrible. Okay, so the Kens are about to perform... None of this makes any damn sense. Okay, the Kens are about to have a vote to change the Constitution. Why? Why? Ken literally just seized power. He's a fascist. What the f*** is he going to vote for? Why are they voting? Like, he seized power. Also, what is the breakdown demographically of the Kens and the Barbies? Are there as many Kens as Barbies? Because why would they hold a vote?
So essentially, this entire review is based on the fact that Ben Shapiro doesn't understand how to suspend disbelief to enjoy a movie that's grounded in make-believe. Again, the entire point of Barbie is that it's make-believe. It's a game. It's a game that kids play where they can be creative and they can fantasize about whatever fucking world they want. Ben Shapiro apparently can't wrap his head around the fact that in a movie about Barbie, which is not going to be grounded in reality, facts don't care about your feelings, Ben, he is not able to comprehend that maybe it's just a movie for people to enjoy things that are nostalgic from their childhood and for mothers to have a nice afternoon with their daughters.
the Kens appear to be in a minority in Barbie land. There are a lot more Barbies than Kens. So if that's the case, why even do the Democratic vote thing? Why not just seize the power? Because then you wouldn't have the rest of the dumb plot of this stupid film. So they decide they're going to hold the vote. And not only are they going to hold the vote, they're going to be very fair about it. They're going to hold it in 48 hours. They're going to hold it in a couple of days to make sure that the Barbies have time to actually form a counter plan. Why would they do that? No reason. Asterisk, asterisk, we'll fill it in later. Okay, so they decide they're going to hold this dumbass vote. And the Barbies learn about this, and Barbie is very depressed because Barbie realizes that all the other Barbies have been taken in by the patriarchy, and this is extremely bad. Now, here's one place where you have a serious continuity error in the film. So, Margot Robbie, who plays Barbie at the beginning, half the time she plays Barbie is kind of stiff like a doll, and half the time she plays Barbie is just kind of normal. And so now, in kind of 90-degree position like a Barbie would, and she keels over in the 90-degree position. And it would be funny, except she hasn't.
Ken overthrew the bourgeois and redistributed the wealth, and the Barbies took it back and gave the Kens jobs to participate in capitalism, Ben. Jesus fucking Christ. How is it possible that someone who went to Harvard Law School and works at the Daily Wire was able to get this so fucking wrong? Again, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's fighting against. He doesn't even know what woke really means. He's living like fucking 8 fucking years ago. Jesus Christ.
I've been doing it the whole film. Again, the level of inconsistency and bad filmmaking here is just off the charts. They needed somebody to actually sit down with them and be an adult in the room, and no one was there. So
I'm not sure you
at
would
this
have been the
point,
first choice.
America
Ben.
Ferrera and daughter decide they've given up on Barbie because Barbie won't fight for herself. And so they take off. And Michael Cera, for no reason, is in this film. And he's in the back of the car, and we don't know why.
Yeah, I'm confused about that.
And he serves no purpose other than to have a random fight scene. And also so that they can make a Trump building the wall reference. Right? They're apparently the Kens are going to build a wall to keep people from getting in or getting out. Now, here's the weird part. No one has ever entered or exited Barbie land before. Why are you building a wall? What is the necessity for a wall?
They literally have entered
It's just a
or
dumb
exited
Trump
Barbie
reference
land.
so that everybody who
They
is
literally
friends with Noah
have.
Baumbach and Greta Gerwig can laugh and nod.
How is it that there is a mother-daughter from the outside world in Barbie land if no one has ever entered or exited Barbie land? That makes no sense, Ben.
Like the morons they are. And so the daughter and the mom, they decide, no, we have to go back and we have to save Barbie land. They're going to save Barbie land.
I was
And
wondering.
who do they go to?
Like,
They go
because
to
it didn't look like a Ken.
wise, weird lesbian Barbie. They go back to Kate McKinnon and they ask her about this. And they bring Barbie with them. And they're going to try to figure out a strategy. How do they stop the Kens from winning the vote? Now, you might say to yourself, wait, aren't the women majority? Do they not have agency, the women? They have no agency, apparently. So apparently the women have no agency and they are a majority, and yet they have to be deprogrammed. They're going to be deprogrammed by weird Barbie and her crazy cadre of feminist heroes.
I love you guys.
And this is when we start getting into the real. You think it's propagandistic so far? Oh man, wait. Here is where we get into like the real meat of it. Okay, so we end up with Barbie complaining. She's complaining to weird Barbie. And she says, oh my God, they've brainwashed all the other Barbies. They've brainwashed all the other Barbies. She says, quote, either you're brainwashed or you're weird and ugly. There is no in between. And Weird Barbie says, tell me about it. And this is the perspective of the film. Either you're a third wave feminist kook who hates men, like truly hates men, or you're brainwashed.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
There's no in between. There's no actual relationship between men and women. There can't be any sort of fulfilling relationship between men and women. There are no
They don't have
decent
genitals.
males in the entire
Of
film.
course
All the
there
men are
can't
garbage.
be.
The only man who even appears mildly is America Ferrera's husband, who's just kind of a joke. He's there for literally 10 seconds in the film, making jokes about how he can't speak Spanish. That's his whole role in the film. Every other man is a
I
piece
hate
of shit in the
these
film.
people so much.
Everyone.
What the
So,
fuck?
This is the perspective of the film when you come right down to it. Either you are brainwashed or you are weird and ugly. And Barbie's like, yeah, that's what Barbie says. I mean, the only decent male is Alan, who apparently wants to wear pink and probably is supposed to be gay. I mean, I think it's supposed to be pretty clear from the film. Although, really, the take of the film is that all the Kens are gay. That's really the take of the film, is that it's all homoerotic kind of.
No one has any sexuality in the film, Ben, because they don't have genitals. Barbie does not have a sexuality. Alan probably was made to be gay, but Kens do not have a sexuality. They literally can't have sex.
stuff.
Let's beach off.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beach both of you off at the same time.
In any case, the filmmakers are so insecure with even their own script that they then have the narrator jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point, right? Because Barbie's saying, I don't feel beautiful anymore. And they're like, Margot Robbie. They literally jet in to say, Margot Robbie might not be the best person to make this point. Then maybe you shouldn't have written the point. Then maybe you shouldn't write it like that. Maybe you should not be a writer. Maybe you could do that. Okay, no. Okay, this is when we get the full bore thesis of the film. And guess what, guys? The thesis of the film, made by women, made for women, made starring women, funded by a studio that is largely staffed by men. The take of the film is that it is impossible to be a woman in the modern age. Absolutely impossible.
I'm pretty
And so we get
sure
this
that's
long
not the take of the film.
speech of America Ferrera talking about,
I'm pretty sure that's not the take of the film, Ben, because Barbie went back to the real world at the end of the film, and Barbie would not have gone back to the real world at the end of the film if it was just impossible to be a woman nowadays.
how it's so difficult to be a woman. They want us to be this way, but not that way. They want us to be thin, but they don't want us to say that we're thin. They want us to earn money, but they don't want us to earn money. They want us to do this, and they don't want us to do that. They want us to answer for men's bad behavior, but they don't want us to offend men. They want us to do this, and they don't want us. Oh my God, it's so difficult to be a woman. So the same tried, truistic bullshit that they've been propagating in every new wave feminist film for the last 45 years in the United States is now essentially telescoped into this one speech from America Ferrera, including a few cutaway shots of Margot Robbie looking up adoringly at America Ferrera as she explains that it's super hard to be a woman. It's so damn difficult to be a woman. You know why? Because of the patriarchy, because of the men. That's the actual story of the film. And then they make a couple of other dumb references, right? The Zack Snyder cut. The men, they like the Zack Snyder cut. Wow, that's terrible. Okay, fine. Then they say, you know what we need to do? We need to disabuse all of these Barbies of the patriarchy. How are we going to do this? We need to allow them to live with the cognitive dissonance required to be a woman under the patriarchy. That's a line from Barbie. Now again, they keep doing this. They keep having Barbie drop these extremely literate and well-articulated lines, but she's supposed to be a plastic doll idiot.
She's
Authority
not
should derive from the
supposed-
consent of the
Barbie, again, Ben has obviously, I mean, I don't know, maybe Ben's daughter isn't playing with Barbies. I don't know. Barbie was never supposed to be stupid, Ben. Again, Barbie could be a doctor. Barbie could be a lawyer. Barbie could be a CEO. Barbie could be an astronaut. Barbie could do whatever she wanted to do, Ben. She was never a bimbo. Conservatives are confused because they treat all women as though it's only about their looks and their presentations and their tits. So they forget that women actually do have a brain, and they just want their women to be quiet and barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen, and they're not supposed to work outside the house. Conservatives want pretty women to be stupid. That's why Ben is confused, because he wants pretty women to be stupid.
governed not from the threat of force.
It doesn't matter. What is their actual strategy? So they have 48 hours to stop this vote, which shouldn't be happening in the first place because it makes no plot sense, because the men are fascists and the women are victims. But somehow they've been given 48 hours to stop the vote. So what are they going to do to stop this vote? How are they going to do it? Well, they're going to separate the men and the women.
Barbie!
They're going to turn all the Barbies against the Kens. It's so subtle. The symbolism is so subtle. Turn all the women against the men and you will save society. That's the message that you could be shoveling directly into the brain of your 8-year-old girl, if you so choose, this weekend.
Maximum volume.
So they literally say this: get the Barbies away from their Kens. How are they going to achieve this? Well, they're going to make the men complacent and then take their power. This is how women have achieved power. Now, let me just digress briefly here in how women actually achieved power in Western civilization. The answer is that they lobbied men and men gave it to them. That is the actual answer as to how women achieve power in Western civilization.
So Ben, when at the end of the movie, the women decided to treat the Kens a little bit better than they had been treating them. So you're kind of saying exactly the same thing that happened in real life, except it happened in the movie too, except you don't want to acknowledge that it happened in the movie because that would destroy your entire presentation of the movie as a piece of feminist propaganda. So you're suggesting that they actually, the writers in the movie, made the same thing happen in the movie that you just said happened in real life?
The amendment to the Constitution that allowed women to vote was passed solely by men because women couldn't vote. It turns out there are a lot of good-hearted men out there who like women and who want women to be able to live lives that they want. It turns out that many of us
Apparently
are
not to be
husbands and
smart,
fathers.
though.
Many of us have daughters. Many of us love the people we're married to. It turns out that that actually describes a huge number of Western men, that we are not your enemies. And yet the entire premise of the movie is that what actually happened in the feminist movement is that women seized the power away from the men. I'm sorry to break it to you, ladies. It ain't true. It ain't true. This notion that women vote as a block is not true. Married women vote very much like their husbands, actually. Single women vote more like a block now than they did before. But it turns out that people are individuals, and some women vote one way and some men vote another way. And this.
Ben, how do you respond to the fact that the narrator in the movie literally says the Kens eventually gained as much power in Barbie land as women have in the real world? Like, God. And the Barbies gave it to the Kens after the Kens lobbied for it.
But again, the idea here is very simplistic. Men versus women, battle royale. And that's what this literally turns into, a battle royale between the women and the men. But really, it's about getting the men to fight each other. They bring all the Barbies one by one. They distract them. They bring the Barbies in one by one, and they unbrainwash them. How do they unbrainwash them? Well, they tell them truths like, any power you have must be masked under a giggle. I have a question. I mean, I work with a lot of women. Do they feel like the power that they have has to be masked under a giggle? Was this film written in 1943? Who wrote this film? Well, we know who wrote this film. A feminist writer who gets paid millions of dollars to make horse. One of them says, we have to reject men's advances without damaging their ego. Or theoretically, you could just reject men's advances and damage their ego because what do you care? You have to pretend to be confused about money. Is this a real thing? Like, do women pretend to be confused about money so the men will explain it to them? This is also, it's such claptrap. And then my very favorite, do you want some pants? Because that's really what this is about, is women really, really want to wear pants. That demonstrates the power of the patriarchy is that men really don't want women to wear pants, and women really, really want to wear pants.
Love your leg warmers.
Nice ass cut.
And then it's, all the men being victimized, all the Kens being victimized by these various tactics, up to and including Ryan Gosling hitting on a trans woman, meaning a dude who has a voice deeper than Ryan Gosling's, which is an actual scene in the film, which is just great. Okay, so then, final step. Finally, the women have been disabused. So now they're going to play the ultimate prank. The ultimate prank is that they are going to turn the men against each other. How are they going to turn the men against each other? They're going to turn the men against each other by switching partners. They're going to get together, and
It's actually
Barbie
a
is going to
pretty
be
smart
with
plan.
Ken, classic Barbie and classic Ken. They're going to be together, but then they're going to move on to the other Kens, and the Kens are going to start fighting each other over the ladies because they're going to switch over. Now, not to put too fine a point on this, but this makes no sense at all. Because guess what would happen if a bunch of beautiful women decided to switch to other men simultaneously? You know what the men would do? They would throw a party. So they turn the men against each other. And then we get a 20-minute long segment of the Kens fighting each other using various implements ranging from like small bows and arrows with sticky cups at the end to tennis rackets. And that turns into a musical number.
I'm going to totally watch this movie now.
What does any of this have to do with plot? Nothing. Literally nothing. It is just a 15-minute digression because they wanted to insert a crappy musical number with not particularly good dancing. And then what are the women doing during this time? The women are voting.
The fact that it's a crappy musical number with not good dancing is the fucking point, Ben!
Women are voting. So now we know the Democratic turnout strategy. The Democratic turnout strategy in 2024 is going to be to get all of the Republicans to fight with one another using tennis rackets while they go and they do the voting, apparently. So they go and they vote. After they vote, they reestablish.
Hang on.
Exactly, basically.
Your male friend is not very smart, and he needs to go out and meet more women in his life, and he needs to like get a fucking grip and realize that it was a movie that wasn't targeted towards him. And I strongly recommend you find smarter male friends. I'm trying to help you here. Any man who is offended by the Barbie movie shouldn't have fucking gone to see the movie in the first place because it was not a movie for them.
How it was. The matriarchy. The matriarchy is reestablished. And Ken, who is now really sad because he's lost his power, and all he wanted in the first place was just to be treated decently by Barbie. Is he treated decently at the end by Barbie?
Yes!
Of course he isn't. That would be silly. At the very end, he is told that he needs to learn to live without Barbie.
I just don't know who I am without you.
He's told that he needs to go get a job and have a life set. Barbie literally told Ken not to be fucking codependent. To go live your own life. Be your own man. Guys, I have news for you. Do you know what women don't find attractive? Needy men who are hanging on to them all the time, who are no one finds this attractive. Barbie literally apologizes to Ken for not treating him well, Ben. Clingy men are pathetic. Clingy fucking soy boy beta bitches are pathetic. Barbie was doing Ken a favor. Barbie was literally giving Ken instructions on what to do in order to be appealing to Barbie.
You're Ken.
But it's Barbie and Ken. There is no just Ken.
He, who was literally created as a doll to be with Barbie, he needs to learn to be apart from Barbie, and she needs to learn to be apart from him, because atomistic isolation and loneliness is the best way to find fulfillment, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be best for Ken if he never sees Barbie again. It'll be better for Barbie if she never sees Ken again. Secular humanism is at its finest. We've reached the apotheosis. Men and women don't belong together. They belong very, very much apart. This is all topped off by Issa Rae calling somebody a motherfucker. Again, perfect for your 7-year-old girl who loves Barbie dolls. Just perfect for her.
That's hilarious, actually.
And so
I'm sorry.
we learn that
that's
men and
funny.
women are supposed to be separate. They are not supposed to be together. And that maybe the matriarchy will allow the men not to be on the Supreme Court of Barbie Land, but maybe they can get some lower circuit court judgeships. This is what we learned. And we learned one day the Kens might have as much power and influence in Barbie world as women have in the real world. Because, of course, women are again, just absolutely subjugated in the real world. You think that's the end of the movie? Wrong. This thing has more endings than Lord of the Rings. So, ending number 1 is we find out that Ken is going to live apart from Barbie, and he's going to find himself in being Ken.
He's not going to be a
the utter joy of
codependent beta
self-exploration.
bitch. Okay, yeah.
Next, we get an ending in which the CEO of Mattel, who's been completely sidelined. You remember the CEO of Mattel? Remember he was supposed to be chasing them into Barbie Land for no apparent reason? So he's now in Barbie Land. We don't know why.
Hang on, I got a super chat from King of Diamonds. Thank you. So I did some research myself, and I feel like wokeism is a distraction from the fact that Barbie shows China owning Filipino territorial waters. Well, if conservatives were smart, that would be a much smarter thing for them to focus on rather than claiming this is a woke movie, even though it upholds capitalism and the gender binary. If conservatives were smart, perhaps they'd focus on that, but, you know, then Ben Shapiro couldn't rant about how men are poor victims of the world for 42 minutes.
He's there or what he's there to do, except that we need Will Ferrell in the movie to provide no laughs. He doesn't provide any laughs. So he shows up. His motivation throughout this movie has been completely inconsistent. He started off wanting to put Barbie back in Barbie Land so that they could make money. And then he is told at one point that when Kens have taken over Kendom, they will make just as much money. He's like, no, that cannot be. I'm an ideologue on behalf of women. And then he arrives and he is told that America Ferrera wants to make ordinary Barbie, which, by the way, would sell 0. Anyway, that will be profitable. And so now he wants to make ordinary Barbie because he's back to being uber capitalist, evil capitalist who's making money off of Barbie because, again, Mattel are bad guys, but they're also the good guys. But they're kind of the bad guys, but they're mostly the good, but they're a little bad. And so that's ending number 2 at this point. So we have the Barbie Ken ending. We have the CEO of Mattel ending, where he says, we'll make ordinary Barbie, and then girls all over the world will know that ordinariness is fine and okay. Because it's not that girls play with Barbie because they think that she's beautiful and it's aspirational. No, it's bad. Okay, so then we have ending number 3. And you think you're done? Wrong. We're now 2 hours deep into this piece of shit. And we have now dug halfway to China, and we are going to keep digging. So we have ending number 3. Rhea Perlman shows up to lecture us all about the patriarchy again. You haven't heard it enough. We got to beat this sucker into the ground. We are going to take an axe, the blunt end of the axe, and we're just going to beat this thing to death. We're just going to beat it to death. So Rhea Perlman shows up because Barbie, it turns out, she spent too much time in the real world. That was the patriarchy and was terrible. So terrible that she wanted to stop it from happening in Barbie Land. But now she wants to go back there because she actually learned some feelings over in the real world.
Oh,
so she decides
maybe the real world
that
isn't that
after all,
bad
this whole
after
story
all,
was just
Ben.
Pinocchio.
Maybe
That she just
it
wants to
wasn't
be
as
a
bad
real
as you're
boy.
making it out to be, and you're
And
a
in
hyperbolic review
what can
that doesn't understand
only be
satire.
termed a sort of
Idiot. Fast Donnie, you and Nicole Arbor are right. Don't overanalyze and project against the Barbie movie. Suspend disbelief and have fun seeing it. That's exactly right. It's a fucking movie. Everyone needs to get a grip. It's not even an R-rated movie. It's a PG-13 rated movie. God.
Bait and switch at the very end of the film, just to please the core audience, which is moms and daughters. They insert a bunch of footage, I kid you not, like home video footage of moms and daughters playing. That's what it is. Like people
Because
living
that's
their
the
lives
audience of
in
the movie.
female ways. Because Rhea Perlman is going to show
That's
Barbie what it's like to be a
literally the
human, and then
audience of
Barbie
the
is going
movie.
to say that she really wants to be a human just like you, just like you. And so they hit you with the nostalgia play at the very end. The whole movie, which should have been nostalgia and about moms and daughters, instead, the entire movie is not that. The entire movie is instead about how men are evil and terrible. And also Mattel is evil and terrible. And then at the very end, they shove in this little nostalgia play in the hope that they can buy back the audience at the very end of the film. And Barbie decides that she is going to be...
Except, Ben, that it kind of seems like the vast majority of women, not bitter fucking disgruntled men who are pissed off that someone made a movie that wasn't targeted towards men. It seems as though the vast majority of women who went to see this movie, and especially the ones that brought their daughters, seem to like the movie just fine. They seem to be pretty pleased with the movie. It's only bitter fucking men that cannot wrap their heads around the fact that this was a movie for mothers and their daughters. It's only bitter men that are pissed off about the fucking movie.
A real woman now. Now, when she goes, that's ending number 3. There's still one more. So when that happens, when she goes to, when she goes into this white area that's supposed to be heaven, because the person who she saw, Rhea Perlman, is actually the person who actually created the doll. And we're supposed to be, this was supposed to be a secret, is that Mattel was run by men, but the big secret all along is that a woman created the doll. News. It's not a secret. She was CEO of the company for 30 years. CEO of Mattel for 30 years, from like 1945 to 1975, until the IRS caught her for tax evasion or something. The big reveal that the patriarchy said that it created Barbie, it didn't. No one thought the patriarchy created Barbie. Again, don't bother with the facts. Don't bother with sense. Don't bother with chronology. Don't bother. None of it matters. So Barbie is now sent back to the real world. And she is now going to experience the apotheosis of what it means to be a human woman. So we've learned early on in the movie, when she goes to the real world, she's catcalled by a bunch of the construction guys. And she says, I don't have a vagina. Right? She, again, amazing line for your 7-year-old girl. She'll love it. So apparently, when she is turned into a real woman, she has now grown a vagina. So the first thing that she does is she goes to the gynecologist, because ladies, the apotheosis of your being is not motherhood. We got rid of that at the very beginning. And it's not being a wife or a partner, because women are supposed to be apart from men. It is your vagina. It is that you go to the gynecologist. Ladies, this is what makes...
This is literally coming from an outlet that has a movie called What is a Woman, in which they say a woman is an adult human female. Ben, I know that like you're married and you've had sex at least 4 times, because I think you have 4 children. So I know you've had sex at least 4 times, Ben. Adult human females have... You guys ready? Is everyone sitting down? Adult human females have vaginas, you idiot! Why the fuck are you upset about the fact that Barbie went into the real world and got a fucking vagina? Because you guys have been pushing a movie that is literally about women being adult human females for over a year. Oh, I'm sorry. He's had sex 3 times because one of the children are twins. Okay, I apologize. I thought Ben Shapiro had more interactions with a vagina than 3. I have been corrected. Thank you.
You, the most human you can be, is that you go to the gynecologist. Now, I could point out here that that's really transphobic. That according to the same people who made this movie, not all women have vaginas, and not all people with penises are men. I could point that out right here. Because it obviously conflicts with the very ending of the film. But instead, I'm going to go with this one. At the end of all of this, they've boiled down. They have a whole conversation about identity and death and meaning. Right? This whole conversation. What does it boil down to at the very end? What it boils down to at the very end, apparently, is being biologically female is the only thing that matters. And that's it, kind of. That's it. Like, it all just boils down to a lady at the gynecologist.
Are you serious? Are you serious? You guys have been the ones pushing that being a biological female is the only thing that matters ever since Matt Walsh released that movie. And now you're like, I can't believe they made a movie about Barbie in which being a biological female is the only thing that matters. Why are you upset about this? You guys should be celebrating. Barbie is an adult human female. What is a woman? What is a woman? Barbie's a woman. Like, are you shitting me? This is just the Daily Wire being upset to outrage their audience for no good reason. Why is Ben Shapiro attacking the gender binary? Why is Ben Shapiro attacking capitalism? Kind of seems like Ben Shapiro is the woke one in this equation.
That's female power. Female power is Barbie goes to gynecologist. Which, I don't know about you ladies, but that seems like that's not like the most feminist message. That lady parts are the entirety of the lady. So excellent job.
Does he
and
even
with that,
hear
we end the
himself?
film, and then we have the glossy credits
Does he
with
even
Nicki Minaj song.
hear himself?
Nicki Minaj version of "I'm a Barbie Girl in a Barbie World."
My
This movie started off as
God.
Barbie, and it was Weird Barbie. It was the toy that was handed off to Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, and they played with it too hard. They decided that they were going to turn it inside out. They're going to rip off the hair. They were going to shave it. They were going to make it ugly. They were going to put all sorts of makeup on it. And then they were going to throw it out in the public. Now, those of us who are on the right, we look at the politics of this movie, we're like, man, so it sounds like a double sandwich. It doesn't sound like a Big Mac. It sounds like a double Big Mac. Right? It sounds like the plot is crap and the characters are crap and the humor is crap. And then on top of that, the politics are crap.
Watch it.
You're missing the point. There's a reason this film has 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. And the reason is, if you are on the left, you can make one of the world's most boring, crappy comedies. You can waste an extraordinary amount of money and talent. You can waste some of the great IP ever created. But as long as you slather it in a bunch of warmed over glorious Steinem nonsense, the critics will just salivate over you. They'll pretend that this is an actual good movie. So here's my prediction.
Except that the audience scores are high too, Ben. Except for all the fucking butthurt men that you guys are sending into the reviews right now saying this movie makes men poor victims of the world. It's only the fucking men who don't like this movie. Everyone in the target audience, at least most people, seem to enjoy it just fine.
In terms of market, the marketing campaign for this movie has been astonishingly good, right? If you walked into this movie and you knew nothing of what I just said, what would you think this movie is? You would think that this movie was probably something like the Disney movie Enchanted, but with Barbie. It's going to be Barbie in Barbie Land, and then it's going to be Barbie in the real world, and it's going to be charming, and it's going to be funny, and it's going to be warm-hearted, and it's not going to be vicious and cynical, and it's not going to be what morons talk about at Hollywood cocktail parties. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be a place where a mom might be able to take her 7-year-old or 8-year-old girl and enjoy themselves together, and then walk out with their arms around each other. You might think that's what it was going to be. And undoubtedly, millions of moms and their daughters will think that. That's what you're seeing at the theaters.
Undoubtedly,
that's why you're seeing everybody wearing pink to the theaters.
Yes.
It's become like a Star Wars kind of thing. Right? It's an actual
there are millions
cosplay
of moms and daughters.
The number
that had
of moms
a
who are going to take
perfectly
their
lovely
daughters back
experience.
to the theater week 2. Good luck with that. Really, good luck with that. Hollywood decided to empty out its own IP here. They decided they were going to take a golden piece of IP and they were just going to smash it and turn it into Weird Barbie. And I got to tell you, and this is going to have some ramifications for Barbie the brand. I don't know why Barbie the brand would hand this property over to people
because
who
they're
clearly
about
hate
to
the
make
property.
tens of
In the real
billions
world, the
of dollars.
patriarchy rules. Men
That's
are really
why.
bad. Women need to separate off from men and hate men in order to be unblinded to the patriarchy, and then they can overthrow the patriarchy and create paradise. That is the thesis of the film. Last comment. Whenever I do film reviews like this, lengthy film reviews of movies like this, the left is always like, why are you taking this so seriously? How dare you take this so seriously? Well, because this is a movie
It's a Barbie
where hundreds of
movie.
millions of dollars will be expended to get people to watch it. It has a heavily political message.
Barbie.
It is explicitly designed to divide men from women.
Oh,
it has
my
these negative
fucking
messages
God.
directed at kids. It is supposed to be a kids movie. It's
Oh
rated
my
PG-13.
fucking
It is
God.
not marketed to PG-13. It is marketed to PG. It is marketed to moms who are going to skip the PG-13 rating and bring their daughters there anyway. It's a culturally relevant moment. A very culturally
parents
relevant
can parent
moment.
their kids how they
And
want
so
to without
the
listening
entire
to
left
you,
attempts to play the face tattoo syndrome. Watch as we take a piece of children's IP and wear its skin around like a mask, like Hannibal Lecter, and we notice it, and then they're like, you noticed it? You're obviously very upset. I find it upsetting when material that is based on children's IP, marketed to little girls, actually ends up being angry feminist claptrap that alienates men from women, undermines basic human values, and promotes falsehood all at the same time. And I think a lot of people are going to have a right to be mad. So we'll see what the income trajectory of this film is. By the way, it's just going to die in China. The overseas market for this film, good luck with the Chinese Communist government putting their kids in front of this sort of stuff. It is not going to happen. Final rating. Out of 10 Barbies, how many Barbies? 10 out of 10 being good. The answer is negative all the Barbies. Negative all of them. I honestly, just as a piece of film.
All right, I can't. We only have like less than 1 minute left of this. I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't want to watch anymore. I'm going to see that fucking Barbie movie. I wasn't even interested in this Barbie movie until conservatives started whining and crying about it, and now Ben Shapiro has made it damn near impossible for me to not see this fucking movie. And I'm not going to take Victor with me because Victor wouldn't like this sort of movie. He wouldn't understand it. He grew up in Ukraine. I don't even think they had Barbies there. He's not going to get it. So you know what I'm going to do? I am not going to force my husband to come and see the Barbie movie because it is not a movie that is made for my husband. My husband can go see Mission Impossible. He can go see Oppenheimer. He can stay home and watch a movie here. He can go hiking. He can go shoot his gun. He can go do a fucking guy thing on his own. And I'm going to go see the fucking Barbie movie after I have, probably several drinks and go like out for lunch by myself or something, have martinis. Maybe I'll even find women to go with. I don't even know. But I'm going to go see that movie. Not because I originally want to see it. But now Ben Shapiro has pissed me off to the point where, like, I just feel I have no other choice. And with that, we are going to end the show for today because I can't yell anymore. And I do have another show. Oh, really, bitch? Oh, really? You're going to cry? Oh, enjoy your black, bitch. I love making conservatives cry. I love it so much. Oh my God, you used the F word. Oh my word. Bye, bitch. Enjoy your block. Anyway, guys, I am going to be back in about an hour and a half because, of course, this is Tuesday. And on Tuesday, this is not my last stream of the day. This is but my first stream of the day. And we will be back with Joshua for Nothing Remotely Controversial at 9:30 p.m. tonight. I promise I won't be yelling as much because we do laugh a lot more than we yell on Nothing Remotely Controversial. And it's a show where we talk about the news, what's going on in the world. And then Joshua, who is a professional psychic, will psychic what is going to happen and give us inside information that you can't get anywhere else. And it's fun. And I don't want to hear anyone complaining about someone having fun because they have a giant fucking stick up their ass like Ben Shapiro. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you in a little bit. Whatever. Bye.